Chapter 53. Hearing the punishment, Satya's face lit up. As for the specifics, we'll talk about it later. This confused Satya. Yair Abed. Wuming turned to look at Yair Abed. Yes, Lord Wuming. Wuming took out another ring of Anziwargong and handed it to Yair Abed. Lord Wuming, you. Although he was happy that Wuming gave him the precious ring of Anziwargong, Yair Abed was puzzled. After all, he did not make any contributions. I've decided to leave Nasariq temporarily and head to the other world. So, I've decided to give you this ring to manage Nasariq while I'm away. How can that be, Lord Wuming? You should let my protectors lead the way to the other world, Yair Abed shouted. That's right, Lord Wuming. It's too dangerous for you to go personally, Demiyugos added. Seeing the worried expressions of the protectors, Wuming smiled. There's no helping it. I'm the only one who can traverse worlds with the staff of Anziwargong. At most, I can bring 1 or 2 people. So, I can only be the vanguard. Of course, that was a lie. The staff of Anziwargong only had the ability to bring people. Traversing worlds was Wuming's ability as the origin dragon. In that case, Lord Wuming should bring me along. As the person with the highest defense in Nasariq, I can definitely protect Lord Wuming, Yair Abed said. No, I've already confirmed the number of people. It's Satya and Sebastian. What? Satya and Sebastian were stunned. Then, they immediately knelt before Wuming. Your subordinates will do our best to live up to Lord Wuming's expectations and accept this punishment. Both Zaisha and Sebastian treated this as a punishment. Rise, everyone. It's not without reason that I brought Satya and Sebastian along. The reason for bringing Satya along was firstly that Satya's ability was outstanding among the guardians. She could be said to be one of the best. Secondly, it was to punish her. On the other hand, Sebastian's fighting ability is unparalleled, and his identity as a butler can easily conceal us. After all, I don't really need too much defense. As a root dragon, my defense has always been very high. Although saying this would make Yair Bade sad, Wuming really didn't want to bring Yair Bade along. Now that you're here, my trip has become a trip to hell. Yair Bade and Demiyugos did not speak. Seeing that the 2 think tanks did not speak, the other guardians did not have any intention of speaking either. It's decided then. Also, I'll inform Pandora Yakut to leave the treasury. No one can invade that place. I'll let her play my role while I'm not in Nasariq. If there's anything, Yerbed and Demiyugos can discuss it with Pandora. That's it. The meeting is over. Zaisha and Sebastian will stay behind. The rest of you can leave. Yes, Lord Wuming, everyone shouted in unison. Before Yerbed, who was the last to leave, left, Wuming said, I hope you can use this ring well. I hope you can make good use of this ring. When I return, I will see a more perfect Nasariq. Just like that, Yerbed left with an excited expression. Wuming exhaled and looked at Zaisha. In that case, Zaisha, you have to be prepared to stay in the staff of Ains Urgong for a long time. Go and prepare your bed. Ha! A moment later, Zaisha left the meeting room with an indescribable expression. Sebastian, you might not be able to see Kialiai for a long time. Forgive me for breaking up your reunion with Kialiai, Wuming said apologetically. How could that be? Master Wuming, to be able to serve by your side, let alone a punishment, in my opinion, this is the best reward for me, Sebastian Dean, Sebastian said solemnly. Well, I'll give you some money. Go shopping with Kialiai and buy something. Let her enjoy the days with you first. This is also my greeting to the new member of Nasariq. With that said, Wuming took out a bag of gold coins and put it in front of Sebastian. Thank you very much, Lord Wuming. Sebastian put away the money bag and bowed to Wuming. Go, I'll inform you when it's time to leave. It should be in 5 days. Yes, Lord Wuming. Click. With the sound of the door closing, Wuming was the only one left in the meeting room. Well, it's time to meet Pandora. Teleport. Wuming activated the ability of Anziergong's ring and arrived in front of the treasure vault. Walking into the treasure vault, Wuming came to a room similar to a luxurious living room. On the sofa in this room, a skeleton wearing a gorgeous blue-black mage robe was sitting on it. It was a dead mage. Who will it be this time? Pandora Yakut's race was a double phantom, which was the same race as Annabelle. However, Annabelle's race was only level 1, which meant that she could only transform into one appearance, which was Annabelle's current appearance. Pandora Yakon's race ability was level 41, which meant she could transform into 41 appearances. Because of Pandora's special skill, the appearance Pandora transformed into could have 80% of the original's ability. Pandora's current appearance was one of Anziergong's 41 players, and Pandora's 41 targets were Anziergong's 41 players. If she wanted to transform into another person, she had to give up one of the 41 players she had cloned. However, Wuming asked for a spell to make up for the double phantom transformation ability in the uninscribed spell book. Using a special spell to record the character's information that had been cloned and save it on a special paper, so that the character's transformation ability could be transferred from one's own skill to a special container, and then continue to copy other characters' information to transform into that person's appearance. Wuming, on the other hand, had already prepared the special paper. Oh, Lord Wuming, welcome. The appearance of the dead great magician in front of him gradually changed, turning into a strange humanoid with completely white skin, wearing a German military uniform and a military cap. He had no facial features. In the position of the facial features, there were some holes as the representation of the facial features. Pandora, I have something to tell you. After briefly explaining Wuming's idea and the special paper Wuming took out, Pandora instantly understood. Understood. Lord Wuming, leave it to me, I will turn you into a hero. Don't worry. Looking at Pandora, who was performing a German military salute, Wuming was a little helpless. Don't act like you're a real hero. Try not to interact with others. It's best if you're unpredictable. I'll pass on the memories and conversations of acquaintances to you. Do your best. I know you can do it. In Nasaric, your wisdom is no less than Demiurgo's. Understood. Lord Wuming. Looking at Pandora, who was making a strange sound and performing a military salute, Wuming couldn't help but think. Am I doing the right thing? Chapter 54. After telling Pandora everything, Wuming left the treasury. Back in the conference room, Wuming decided to read the uninscribed book more. After all, it will automatically record the magic of the world. After reading the book in the conference room for a few days, Wuming closed the book and stretched. I'm so tired. Although I don't have to eat, I still have to sleep. With that said, Wuming used the ring of Ain's Wugong to go to his bedroom. Lying on the bed, Wuming recalled everything he did in this world. I'll tell them the truth. I'm not the Supreme Lord they used to be loyal to. After all, Wuming also indirectly deceived the Guardians. Even if the Guardians didn't care, Wuming still felt uncomfortable. After all, I'm the root dragon. How can I do such a thing? It's a disgrace to my bloodline. After thinking about it, Wuming shook his head again. Of course not. If I tell them the truth, with their sense of justice, they might take revenge on the Supreme Lord who abandoned them. Well, I still have to think about it carefully. After a while, Wuming's door was knocked. Come in. Sorry to disturb you, Wuming-sama. The succubus in a white dress walked into Wuming's bedroom. Yeah, Erbel, what are you doing here? In short, Wuming still couldn't deal with this crazy woman. It's like this, Wuming-sama, because of your actions in this world, the Guardians and I have specially provided you with some items that may be useful. Erbel stretched out her hand, and a dark purple ripple appeared in the air. That ripple can be understood as a backpack, which was the storage space for items in the game. Erbel took out a backpack from it. The moment she took it out, Wuming recognized it. It was an infinite backpack. Ming took it and checked the items in the bag. Really, I've already taken some useful items from Nazarik's treasure vault. Let's do this. Ming took out some items that he didn't have or didn't have the same effect as Bell. He opened a golden hole in the air and put those items inside. As for the remaining items in the infinite backpack, Ming threw them back to Bell. That golden ripple was an extension of Ming's space noble artifact, Dragonist, Dragon's Nest. Previously, Ming could access items from Dragonist in an instant, but it wasn't suitable for storing or retrieving a large number of items. Therefore, Ming learned the Guardian's skill of opening backpack and developed this skill. I'll take some items that don't have the same effect as me. You can divide the rest among the Guardians or the anti-theft treasure vault. Anyway, I won't touch it again. Ming waved his hand and said somewhat willfully. Yes. Ming, Sama, Bell was taken aback at first, then she showed a smile. Well then, I'll take my leave first, Ming, Sama. When Bell was about to leave, Ming stopped Bell. Wait a minute, Bell. I have a question. Ming said awkwardly. What's the matter, Ming, Sama? Is there a problem that I, as your subordinate, can solve? Bell looked at Ming. If, and I'm saying if, I'm not the Supreme Venerable you served before, but just a Supreme Venerable who came in after the other Supreme Venerables left, what do you think? Ming asked a little guiltily. Faced with this question, Ming thought Bell would say something like, that's impossible. What does it matter, Ming, Sama? Huh? Looking at Bell's smiling face, Ming was a little overwhelmed. According to Bell's words, she already knew, whether you are the Supreme Venerable we served before or not, it doesn't matter. In the end, you were the one who accompanied us into the other world. You were the one who accompanied us and protected us. When everyone was afraid of coming to the other world, you were the one who guided us in the front. Bell walked in front of Ming and touched Ming's face. You shouldn't think about this problem. You just need to move forward, because we will only choose to follow you forever. There was a moment of silence in the bedroom. Do the other Guardians know? Ming asked. Yes, Lord Ming. Demiurgos and I were the first to guess. The other Guardians were also told by Demiurgos and I during the Guardians meeting. They all said that whether Lord Ming is the Supreme Venerable or not, the one who is accompanying us now is that Lord. Only by doing our best for that Lord can we repay that Lord's kindness towards us. That's what they said. Is that so? Let's not talk about how you and Demiurgos came to this conclusion, but I hope you don't resent the other Supreme Venerables. After all, they will never have the chance to return to Nasarik. Yes. I promise you, my beloved Lord Ming. Then, can you explain why you took off your clothes? Bell. Ming looked at Bell who was taking off his clothes and shouted hysterically. Of course, I'm taking advantage of the atmosphere to take down Lord Ming. How can I let go of such a good atmosphere? Lord Ming. Bell returned to his infatuated expression. Really, you've ruined such a rare atmosphere. Get out of my way. Ming opened his palm, and silver chains bound Bell. What is this? Damn it, don't disturb me and Lord Ming's happiness. Ming smiled as he looked at Bell who was struggling on the ground but was unable to break free. No matter what, it's still a noble artifact. Just stay here obediently. Once the magic power of this sky lock is exhausted, it will automatically disappear. That's it, goodbye, wait. Lord Ming, after that, Ming used the ring of Anziwergong to teleport out of the bedroom, leaving only Bell who was crying. On the 9th floor corridor, Ming walked and muttered to himself. Seriously, to think that I was so vexed. In the end, all the Guardians know about it. Sigh. As he walked, Ming found himself in the corridor of the conference room. Huh? Demiurgos? Ming saw Demiurgos standing in front of the conference room, looking at who he was talking to. Wyrm speculated that Demiurgos was using message magic to communicate. And Demiurgos seemed to be too focused, he didn't notice Wyrm's arrival for the time being. Until Wyrm stood behind Demiurgos. Lord Wyrm. I'm so sorry, I didn't notice your arrival. Wyrm said as he looked at Demiurgos, who was kneeling on one knee. It's okay, Demiurgos, I don't blame you, including the conversation between you and Cocytus just now. I'm so sorry, Lord Wyrm, your intention was to let Cocytus understand by himself. I really shouldn't have said that. Demiurgos lowered his head even more. It's okay, Demiurgos, I said I won't blame you. Come in with me. Wyrm said as he opened the door of the conference room. After Wyrm went in, Demiurgos followed. Chapter 55. Wyrm sat on the office chair and looked at Demiurgos standing in front of the desk. I know, Demiurgos, you can understand my thoughts, and I am very satisfied with your way of helping your companions, so you don't have to blame yourself. Thank you for your magnanimity, Wyrm-sama. Demiurgos bowed. So, how is Cocytus's progress? Wyrm asked. Cocytus has just finished his first attack, and there is no doubt that he was defeated. Well, I think so too. After all, the soldiers I gave to Cocytus were all mindless soldiers that were automatically produced by Nasaric. If they could win, I would be surprised by the lizardman's strength. Wyrm continued. Demiurgos, tell Cocytus that I want to watch the battle between him and the lizardmen. He is allowed to fight, but only one person can fight. Yes, Master Wyrm-sama. Demiurgos began to use message to contact Cocytus. When he was free, Wyrm stretched out his hand and took out the staff of Anziurgong from the golden ripple. Remote perspective mirror. It was a special intelligence magic that could see the scene in the distance, and it could penetrate some anti-intelligence magic. Master Wyrm-sama, I have already informed Cocytus. Well, sit down and watch together. Yes. Soon, Cocytus won. After all, those lizardmen were not even level 50. How could they win against Cocytus, a level 100 warrior? I'm going to the scene to see. Do you want to come, Demiurgos? It's my pleasure, Master Wyrm-sama. Portal. The black and red ripple door opened, and Wyrm and Demiurgos walked in. Wyrm came to Cocytus's side and looked at the few lizardmen's bodies on the scene. Wyrm praised. It's a wise choice. After all, when they knew that the other party wanted to subdue their race, they didn't need to send out all of their combatants because if all of them died, it would be a disaster for their race. Sir Wyrm. When Cocytus saw that it was Wyrm, he knelt down on one knee. Well done, Cocytus. Thank you for your praise, Lord Wyrm. Since we've conquered the lizard men, it's time for us to return. After saying that, Wyrm wanted to leave. Lord Wyrm, I have a request. Wyrm looked in astonishment at Cocytus, who was kneeling on one knee and bowing his head. Say it. If it's not a big problem, I'll agree to it. Thank you, Lord Wyrm. I would like to request that you revive the lizard men. Oh, may I know why? Because they are all warriors with some strength, I think they can serve Nasaric. Don't you think this reason is far-fetched, Cocytus? After saying that, Wyrm didn't look at Cocytus, who had his head bowed, but looked at Demiurgos who was beside him. Wyrm's meaning was very simple. Demiurgos asked Cocytus to ask for help from Wyrm. Demiurgos immediately understood and shook his head lightly. Wyrm understood and reached his hand into the golden ripples. He took out a short staff with an emerald head and an ivory body and threw it to Cocytus. This resurrection staff is for you, Cocytus. Although it can be used a limited number of times, reviving these lizard men shouldn't be a problem. Thank you, Lord Wyrm. Then, with Cocytus's grateful voice, Wyrm returned to Nasaric. Demiurgos didn't follow him back. He stayed behind to help Cocytus use the resurrection staff. As a warrior, Cocytus couldn't use any staff-type items. He sat on the office chair and looked up at the ceiling. So, the things in Nasarick are almost done. Wu Ming heard the magic bell, and he put his hand on his ear. What's the matter? Lord Wu Ming, two humans broke into Nazarik's spirit temple. Nazarik's spirit temple. Because Marley had set up an illusion magic circle, no one should be able to break into Nasarick. But, I'm right, little Kaji. I told you it was here, but you didn't believe me. The speaker was a woman wearing a black cloak with short blonde hair and a smile on her face. Humph. I'm warning you again, don't call me that. It's normal for this place to be strange. After all, such a large tomb is wrapped in an unknown illusion barrier. If you hadn't stepped into the hero domain, even if you had seen this place before, you wouldn't remember the location of this place. The other was a middle-aged man with skin as pale as a corpse's. He wore a dark red mage robe and held a magic staff and a dark gray pearl. He didn't have a single strand of hair on his head, whether it was a beard, eyebrows, or hair, he didn't have any. Understood. Then, is our Lord Kadjit worthy of knowing what happened to the cult nation? I don't know if the theocracy provoked those dragon kings. Not only the capital's main church was destroyed, but even the six-color holy scriptures suffered heavy casualties. I hope they're all dead, so they won't chase me anymore. Okay, let's go, Clementine. The orb of death told me that there is a huge amount of death energy under this tomb. As long as I can get that energy, I can complete my ritual. After that, the man named Kaji began to move toward the entrance of the spirit temple. Stop, you two. A young man's voice came from the entrance of the spirit temple. Both Kaji and Clementine's faces changed. Clementine even took out her weapons, two short thorns. After all, that place was mysterious, and it was always right to be careful. Wu Ming slowly came out of the shadow and looked at Kaji and Clementine. You two can come in because I opened a hole in the barrier. After all, there are people who want to come in all day long, so it's better to invite them in early. Don't you think so, Kaji, Clementine? Wu Ming crossed his arms and looked at the two with a happy face. Hey, is it because of the conversation just now, Clementine? Get ready to retreat. Kaji's face became ugly. I will do it even if you don't say it. This man is too scary. He has been exuding a terrifying aura. Clementine whispered. I advise the two of you not to move around. If you're not careful, your head will fall off. With that, a few insect shadows appeared beside Kaji and Clementine. They were level 85 monsters called 8-limb assassin bugs. They were responsible for Wu Ming's safety in Nasarick. At this moment, the front blades of these 8-limb assassin bugs were placed on Kaji and Clementine's necks without any blind spots. What? When? Hey! Then, Wu Ming said to the side. Shadow demon, capture them. With that, Wu Ming's shadow flashed, and a shadow rushed toward Kaji and Clementine. In an instant, the shadow covered the two. Wu Ming didn't even look and left. Anyway, Demiurgos would take care of it. It's about time to leave Nasarick and go to the other world. I'll leave tomorrow morning. With this thought, Wu Ming left the surface of the tomb in Nasarick. Then, Demiurgos appeared where Wu Ming was standing before. Demiurgos pushed up his glasses. Send them to the House of Reality in the 5th level, Ice Prison. Let Nihilus take good care of them. With that, he left like Wu Ming. A moment later, the 8-limb assassin bugs and the shadow demon also disappeared. Only the empty spirit hall was left on the surface. Chapter 56. Wu Ming gave his final instructions and left with Satya and Sebastian the next day. Under the effect of the staff of Anzirgong, Satya and Sebastian were sent into the space of the staff of Anzirgong by Wu Ming and fell into a deep slumber. After transforming into his dragon form, Wu Ming entered the space-time tunnel. Wu Ming kept flying in the space-time tunnel. Looking at the light spots in the tunnel, Wu Ming could not help but recall his previous transmigrations. When he transmigrated to the country of shadow, Wuming was not familiar with the structure of the space-time tunnel and was sucked in. After that, Britain was summoned by Merlin. It could be said that Wuming had tricked himself. After that, he transmigrated again because of Morgan Le Fay's curse, causing Wuming to leave that era and enter the space-time tunnel. Entering ancient Babylon was caused by the crazy Wuming wantonly destroying the space-time tunnel, which was caused by external factors. The alternate world where Nasarick was located was brought in by Wuming's curiosity. Therefore, strictly speaking, Wuming could be considered to have transmigrated on his own initiative and was not as passive as before. Just as Wuming was thinking, a light spot flickered not far ahead. As if they had a telepathic connection, Wuming subconsciously nodded. The space-time door opened. Wuming tilted his head and thought for a while before plunging in. Then, the space-time door closed. Wuming felt as if he had returned to his mother's embrace. His entire body was filled with warmth. Wuming had the thought of falling asleep again. However, this thought was not serious. After resisting his sleepiness, Wuming opened his eyes. At this moment, Wuming was in his human form in an indescribable substance. It was like water, gas, and fog. In short, these substances gave Wuming a chaotic feeling. However, it made Wuming feel very comfortable. Is this the root? Wuming had guessed correctly. This was the root of the M-shaped moon world. The shining light spot from before was just a resonance between the M-shaped moon world and Wuming. Because of this resonance, Wuming opened the space-time door subconsciously. Then, how do I get out? After all, even if the root was Wuming's home, this home was too big. Moreover, Wuming had never been to this home before. He left this home after he was born. Do I have to stay here until I can enter and leave the root on my own? This feels good. The root is home is the root's bloodline. Just as Wuming was thinking, he seemed to have received some news. It was as if someone was talking to him. Wuming opened his eyes wide in surprise. Are you for real? I don't mind. If I were to sleep here, I would have nothing to do. Wait. With that, Wuming transformed into his dragon form and fell asleep. The dream had begun. An ordinary village, a group of ordinary farmers, a group of ordinary playmates, and an ordinary war. Wuming seemed to have turned into a baby and was born in this village called Dong Remy. As if he was watching a movie, Wuming realized that time was passing by quickly. In the blink of an eye, Wuming was already 16 years old. However, the memories of these 16 years were still intact in Wuming's mind. Just now. What was that? 16 years of memories. That's unbelievable. Wuming now felt like he was watching a movie. He could only watch what he was doing and couldn't interfere with it. However, this body was indeed his. No matter what this body said or did, it was Wuming himself. Is this the process of falsifying an identity? Sigh. The restraining force acted too fast. I told you to wait. That's right, in the root, Wuming received the restraining force's greeting. Because Wuming signed a contract when he was born, but because he was immediately sent away from the Type Moon world, Wuming did not leave any traces in the Type Moon world. Although Wuming left his traces in the ancient Celtic, ancient British, and ancient Babylonian worlds, it was not because of the two restraining forces in the Type Moon world, but because Wuming joined it himself. Therefore, the planet's consciousness, Gaia, and the human consciousness, Alea, created a new identity for Wuming to achieve his ultimate goal, heroic spirit. In this way, Wuming's main body was sleeping in the vortex of the root, absorbing the power of the root. Wuming's intention was to enter the heroic spirit palace prepared for Wuming by the restraining force to form a heroic spirit. However, Wuming had the right to leave the heroic spirit palace. After all, when they signed the contract, they signed an equal contract, so Wuming did not have to worry about being trapped in the heroic spirit palace. Besides, the heroic spirit palace could not trap the root dragon. Of course, it was an adult. The scene changed. The country Wu Ming was in was troubled by war for a long time. A girl who had a good relationship with Wu Ming came to chat with Wu Ming. "Cedric, you really are here." Looking at his blonde childhood sweetheart, Wu Ming said. Wu Ming put his hands behind his head, lying on a piece of hay, and said uninterestedly. "Ah, what's wrong, Jehan? Why don't you pray for the Lord's arrival and listen to the voice of the Lord? Why are you looking for a lazy false believer like me?" That's right, in this village, Wu Ming was arranged to be a believer of the Lord because of the persecution of the war. "Well, don't say that, Cedric, I have something to tell you." Wu Ming sat up from the ground. "Say it, I'm your childhood sweetheart." Jehan blushed a little. She sat next to Wu Ming and hugged her knees with both hands. "Actually, I heard the voice of the Lord." Wu Ming didn't say anything. "The Lord said, 'Why do people fight?'" Wu Ming still didn't say anything. "The Lord told me, I can stop this dispute. I want to stop this war." Wu Ming still didn't say anything. "It's just, a little scared. Is my ability enough? Let's do it together." "Ah." The girl named Jehan looked at Wu Ming in surprise. "I don't feel safe letting a village girl like you go to the battlefield. Since we used to take a bath together, I'll protect you." Wu Ming smiled at Jehan, showing his white teeth. "What are you talking about? We took a bath when we were very young, it doesn't count." Jehan blushed. "How can it not count? Jehan, are you going to abandon me? I'm prepared to marry you when I grow up." Wu Ming showed a smug smile. WH. What? I'm not ready yet. No. No. The girl struggled to get up and ran into the distance. As Wu Ming laughed, the girl hid under a tree and put her hands over her heart. "After the war, I can consider it." Chapter 57. After that, the boy and the girl left the village and headed for an important city in France. After a long and dangerous journey, the boy and the girl became a member of the army. The girl got the command of the army because God's revelation was verified. With the help of the boy's wisdom and advice, the girl won one battle after another. In the end, even without the boy, the girl kept winning. And because of the boy's outstanding military talent and powerful force, soon, his status in the army rose and caught up with the girl. In this way, King Charles VII, who was helped by the girl and the boy, divided the French army into two parts and gave them to the boy and the girl. In this way, in less than 2 years, most of the invaders were driven out of France by the efforts of the boy and the girl. The people called the boy Celestial General Cedric, and the girl Saint Joan. And when the invaders were driven out, the girl was captured and slandered as a witch. The British authorities decided to execute the girl in Rouen, France, by burning her at the stake. After the boy failed to get the support of the French nobles and the king, he left the army and went to rescue the girl alone. When the boy came to the execution ground, the girl was already deep in the sea of fire, and the boy directly rushed into the sea of fire and hugged the girl. In the end, the boy and the girl were burned together. Only then did France manage to drive out all the invaders from England. The French king conferred the title of a general to commemorate the boy's achievements. And the girl, after being slandered as a witch, was canonized as a saint in Vatican City hundreds of years later. At this moment, the boy opened his eyes with tears in his martyr's palace. Jehan. As if it was just a moment ago, Wu Ming's eyes were still filled with tears. As if it was a long time ago, Wu Ming's eyes were full of confusion. Seriously, if you want to make history a mere figurehead, then so be it. Why did you give me such an annoying identity? Wu Ming wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes. I said before that I won't cry anymore, but I cried again. Wu Ming laughed at himself. But I heard the last sentence clearly, Jehan. Alright, let's see if there's any place where I need to be summoned. Wu Ming sat on his seat in the martyr's palace and closed his eyes to sense the surroundings. This could be considered Wu Ming's privilege. Other heroic spirits could only be summoned passively, but Wuming could choose to take the initiative. As for Wuming, he only needed an opportunity to appear on his own. Lord, Wuming opened his eyes. Yes, that's Jihan's voice. Since he didn't need to pay attention to the heroic spirit's body in the Valhalla, Wuming prepared to directly descend his consciousness into the servant's body. Wuming's body began to glow. Then, as if he had fallen asleep, Wuming closed his eyes. In a certain cemetery, there was a middle-aged man with 3 scars on his face. His name was Lion Jiali. He was a magician and was holding a ceremony. Thy body shall be my life, and my fate shall be thy sword. In accordance with the Holy Grail's request, if you are willing to abide by this principle, then respond. I hereby swear. I am the one who becomes all the good in the world, I am the one who suppresses all the evil in the world. Thou, bound by the 3 spirits of words for 7 days. Wheel of self-restraint, come forth. Guardian of Libra. The magic formation in front of him produced a large amount of storms that constantly impacted everything around him. Lion Jiali raised his arms to cover his eyes and head. After a while, the smoke slowly dispersed, revealing the person standing in the magic formation. A knight wearing a white armor with red patterns and holding a red magic sword stood there. The knight's helmet began to disintegrate and scattered around the armor like a machine, revealing a pretty face with a single golden ponytail. There was an unruly smile on her pretty face. I ask you. Are you my master? However, Lion Jiali in front of the female knight didn't speak. Instead, he looked at her with a shocked expression. The female knight was a little puzzled and looked at Lion Jiali fiercely. Hey! Say something. Bastard! He is surprised that he can summon 2 servants at once, Mordred. What? A voice came from behind Mordred. Mordred didn't seem to know that there was someone behind her. She hurriedly jumped away and raised the magic sword in her hand. You are? How is that possible? As if she saw an incredible existence, Mordred cried out in surprise. Wu Ming was wearing a silver white armor. He followed Mordred's example and opened up his dragon head helmet. Long time no see, Mordred. To Wu Ming's surprise, Mordred was summoned in this Holy Grail war, and she was with him. No, it should be, I followed Mordred here. So that's how it is. That opportunity is you, little Mordred. Don't give me such a disgusting name. What the hell is going on? Vilo tharanced. Although Mordred's tone was still bad, she put down the weapon in her hand. What? Is this the Vilo knight known as the Silver Dragon of Britain? Lion Jiali on the side was very surprised. No, master, I summoned Sodric Vilo Ste as a saber. Huh? Sodric? Are you kidding me? Mordred obviously didn't believe it. Could it be that the legend of Heavenly Commander Sodlek is true? Jia said. What is the legend, master? Mordred asked. Lion Jiali swallowed and looked at Wu Ming nervously. Legend has it that the young Sodlek, who joined the army together with Joan of Arc, became the highest-ranking general in France in less than 2 years with his innate martial prowess and strategic command ability. He was loved and respected by the French people. But Lion Jiali didn't dare to say it. After all, if the person in front of him was really Sodric, it would be taboo. No problem, master, please continue. Afterward, Lion Jiali continued. Before joining the army, Sodric was ambushed by the British royal family. In the Alps, he battled with the demonic dragon transformed from the legendary Silver Dragon of Britain, Vero Sealanthud. Sodric killed the demonic dragon with his bravery and intellect. He obtained the armor and weapons of the demonic dragon's guardian and bathed in the dragon's blood. His physical strength was greatly enhanced and he could block sharp weapons with his body. However, at some point in time, rumors began to circulate among the people that Sodric had been possessed by a demonic dragon and that his body had been taken over. That's why Sodric was burned together with Joan of Arc, who was sentenced to be the saintess at that time. Huh? Are you serious? Hey! Who are you? Mordred shouted at Wyrm. Of course, I am me, Mordred. Villo is me, Sodric is me, and the demon dragon is me. Wyrm's eyes were glowing red, looking at Mordred and Lion Giali. Lion Giali suddenly regretted using the round table fragment as a holy relic to summon. Looking at the situation, he might die before seeing the black servant. Chapter 58. Mordred protected Leo Giali and pointed her sword at Wyrm with both hands. Wyrm looked at the two with a smile. Both sides were on the verge of fighting. Then, Wyrm spoke. Okay, I'm kidding. After all, the magician behind you is not only your master, but also my master. Speaking of this, Lion Giali realized that the other party had also been calling him master all this time. Looking at his hand, Lion Giali exclaimed in surprise. Are you for real? I actually have 6 command incantations. Wyrm and Mordred both looked at Leo Giali's hand. Leo Giali's left and right hands had a red pattern similar to blood clots. Each pattern was composed of 3 lines, and the thickness and shape of each line were different. That is the command seal. Normally, there should only be 3 command incantations, but having 6 command incantations meant that Giali had 2 servants. Well, for the time being, just think of me as a reincarnated Villo Knight. That's it, please advise me, Master. And, you can perceive the connection between us, can't you, Mordred? Yes. Mordred didn't say anything, but she was very unhappy. After removing the sword and armor in a very unhappy manner, he turned around and said to Giali, my real name is Mordred. Nice to meet you, Master. Then Wyrm also officially reported his name. My real name is Sodlek. Please take care of me, Master. Please advise me, my name is Leo Giali. Leo Giali said helplessly. Let's not talk about the 2 servants you summoned. You actually summoned a knight of the round table in this place, are you a necromancer? Mordred crossed her arms and said with a look of disgust. Yes, my childhood was accompanied by corpses. Speaking of which, King Arthur's son Mordred is actually a girl, hey. Master, you'd better not say that word, otherwise, I don't know what Mordred will do. Wyrm interrupted Leo Giali, looking at Mordred who was looking at him coldly. Leo Giali swallowed his saliva. I know. So, what is your wish? Leo Giali first looked at Mordred. Of course, I want to challenge you to pull out that sword, but I think with my qualifications, I will definitely pull it out. Mordred said with a proud face. How is that possible? Wyrm accidentally laughed. What did you say? Villo. Believe it or not, I'll kill you. After saying that, Mordred was about to condense a sword and slash at Wyrm. The position of king has already been decided. Mordred, it doesn't mean that just because you have the right to be king, you can pick her up. Giali on the side. Why do you say that? You also know that I was a knight during King Yosef's time. As the strongest knight at that time, King Yosef naturally told me about the next king. Wyrm looked at Leo Giali, then looked at Mordred and continued. To be precise, even if I tried to pull out the sword, I could pull it out. The reason why I couldn't pull it out was because Merlin cast a spell, making everyone who tried to pull it out at that time unable to do so. Only my king could pull it out. Hearing this, Leo Giali was dumbfounded. What? It was Merlin who interfered. Mordred expressed that she was very angry. However, to pull out that sword, having the qualifications of a king is the most important thing. At that time in Camelot, other than my king and me, no one else had the qualifications of a king. However, if you win the Holy Grail, you can try. Mordred, I have to tell you, you are not inferior to my king. My king didn't accept you because she knew you couldn't bear the fate of Britain. These words caused Mordred to fall into silence. Then, as the first knight of King Arthur, the Villo, and as the general of France in the 100 Years' War, what do you wish for? Leo Gialli asked. Wyrm smiled. I participated in the Holy Grail War this time because I have something to do with a servant, so strictly speaking, I don't have a wish. Huh? Leo Gialli cried out in surprise. After all, in Leo Gialli's view, whether it was the Knight Villo or the General of France, they were all tragic figures. The former became a demonic dragon because of the curse of the Black Magician and was sealed. The latter was slandered by the British royal family and was rumored to be a demonic dragon. In the end, he was burned to death with Joan of Arc. Therefore, in Leo Gialli's view, it was a bit unrealistic for Wyrm to say that he had no wish. Well, after all, I haven't died, so I don't have any wish that can be fulfilled with the Holy Grail. What? Leo Gialli looked at Wyrm in surprise. This time, even Mordred looked at Wyrm with a surprised face. After all, it was strange to become a heroic spirit without dying. Well, after all, I'm not a human, so I didn't die. I'll tell you this story when I have the chance in the future. Shouldn't we go and meet the other Red Masters first? Yes, the supervisor of the Holy Church and the Red Master sent me a message before, asking me to go to a church somewhere to find him. Then, let's go, Master. In this way, under Mordred's complaint and Leo Gialli's helpless expression, the three of them began to move toward the designated location. Sighisoara, Romania, a small church on a mountain. Leo Gialli walked in alone. Wyrm and Mordred both turned into spirits and followed behind Leo Gialli. After entering the church, the first thing he saw was a white-haired young priest. The agreed place is here, right? Did you call me here? Although it was a question, it was a tone of certainty. The priest heard someone come in and turned his head. Nice to meet you, I'm Shiro Kotomine. White hair, dark skin, a black priest's outfit, a cross ornament hanging on his chest. This was a person who, whether it was his voice or his personality, would give people a feeling of peace. I'm Leo Gialli. I'll skip the self-introduction. Well, then the servants around you are a bit abnormal. Did you find Cedric? Leo Gialli thought. Wyrm told Leo Gialli that he just followed Mordred to the world. It was also because of his own skills, so he didn't need Leo Gialli to provide much magic power. He just needed to maintain the contract. After all, without a contract, the servants couldn't appear. The servant I summoned is a little special. Forgive me for my lack of manners. Of course, no problem. This is also your privacy. Mordred, who noticed that something was wrong, removed her spirit form and revealed her body in full armor. Through the contract, Mordred sent a message to Leo Gialli, annoying aura, let me be like this for the time being. Leo Gialli looked at Mordred and didn't speak. Wyrm also appeared. He was clad in white full-body armor, a helmet that resembled a dragon's head, and a cape that was used as a decoration. He gave off a rather reliable feeling. Wyrm and Mordred stood on the left and right side of Leo Gialli. Then, I'll come out here too. Fengshiro said. A woman in black clothes who looked very sinister appeared behind Fengshiro. This sinister woman was also a servant. I'm Assassin, my real name is Semiramis. She gave Wyrm a feeling of seeing Morgan Le Fay. Immediately, Fengshiro and Leo Gialli sat on the chair in the church and began a short conversation. After that, Leo Gialli said that he wanted to act alone. So, you're not going to act with other masters? Are you not used to group battles? Fengshiro asked. Yes, and I have enough power here, so I'm not going to act with you. Leo Gialli said calmly. After that, Leo Gialli got up and walked toward the door. I wish you a prosperous martial arts, Mr. Leo Gialli. Leo Gialli opened the door and walked out. Thank you for your blessing. Peng dash. The door closed. Chapter 59. After walking out of the church, Wyrm and Mordred entered spirit form. How is it, did he chase after us? Liu Jiali asked. No, but you can rest assured, because this guy is super strong. Mordred conveyed her words to Liu Jiali through the contract. You really think highly of me, Mordred, Wyrm teased. Although I don't want to admit it, if this guy still has the power of a knight, we will win this Holy Grail war, Master. Oh, although I know that King Arthur's first knight is really powerful, Saber, is Sodric really that strong? After all, from the conversation with Liu Jiali, he knew that the number of times the knight Villo in King Arthur's history was not many, and he was basically the commander. Of course, Master, this guy can be said to be in existence that even my father may not be able to defeat. Although I don't want to admit it, the Villo is indeed the strongest in Britain. Looking at Liu Jiali's shocked expression, Wyrm said. Well, let's not talk about the combat power first. After all, I came as the French General Sodric, so it is inevitable that there will be some differences in ability. Is that so? Then, this name is a problem, both of you are Saber, Master, please call me General. General? That sounds like the French word for general, right? Alright, I'll call Sodlek General from now on, and Mordred Saber. Why? I also want a different name. Sure enough, Mordred is still a child, Wyrm thought. Let's not talk about this first, why don't you stay, Master? Mordred asked. Liu Jiali was stunned, then said, didn't you two not want to stay? The minority obeys the majority, so let's leave, After all, he's a servant with Queen Mother's aura, which means he's not someone you can trust. Mordred said angrily. Mordred is right. Semiramis is not inferior to Morgan Le Fay in terms of methods, intelligence, and ruthlessness. It was because of Morgan Le Fay's scheme that I revealed my true form. So, General, your true identity is a dragon. Liu Jiali was a little surprised. Yes, Mordred, you should know that King Yusef and Merlin once summoned the legendary dragon, and that was me. No way. Are you for real? That legendary dragon that has never appeared before is you. Mordred couldn't remain calm anymore. Of course, after I transformed back into a dragon, due to Morgan Le Fay's curse, I, who was unable to transform into a human, was corrected by history and brought away from that era. That's true. As a top-level fantasy breed dragon, it should be impossible to live in King Arthur's era, unless it's a sub-dragon or something like that. Liu Jiali touched his chin and analyzed. After all, Wyrm's dragon form was mysterious in that era where the gods had passed away, so it was naturally excluded by the era. Unfortunately, Wyrm was the root dragon, so the era couldn't do anything to Wyrm at all. If the summoning time hadn't been shortened by Morgan Le Fay, Wyrm wouldn't have to leave at all. Well, you guys can think of it as that. Wyrm said embarrassedly. Just like that, while the three of them were talking, Jiali the lion took the two servants and left the church. In the church, Fengshiro Yanfeng and Semiramis began their discussion. It seems like we've been alerted, Master. It's not my fault. Semiramis laughed. If the other party has two servants, it's not easy to get rid of them. Semiramis cheerfully said something that no one could understand. After all, Jiali was the master of the red team, yet he actually thought of ambushing his own people. The other party is also pursuing the Holy Grail and is now on our side. Besides, even if it's an ambush, it's unlikely to succeed. Feng Shiro said with a warm attitude. I didn't expect the other party to summon two servants. Let's not talk about the possibility. Does he have a way to provide magic? After all, the magic supply of two servants is not something that anyone can control. Semiramis said. Maybe it's a miracle. After all, the Holy Grail War is not short of miracles. The young man said. Then Semiramis continued to ask, did you see the other party's real name, Master? Yes, I saw the real name of one of the servants. The other servant has a hidden noble artifact or skill. Oh, then what's the real name that you identified, Satyr? Sodric, the general known as the Divine Warrior in the 100 Years' War between England and France. Oh, if it's that one, we can't act rashly, Semiramis said. That's right. I saw the special ability of the servant named Sodric, Mystic Dragon. It seems that the slander of the world has become a curse that accompanies this general who saved the nation. Well, it seems that we have to finish the courtyard quickly. The ritual should be completed in a day or two, right? Well, of course, at this moment, a brown-haired bearded man dressed in a greenish-brown British costume with a cape draped over his left shoulder shouted as he barged in. Horse. Give me a horse. I will exchange my whole kingdom for it. What are you doing? Castor. That was Semiramis who was scared. Oh. The Empress of Assyria. So, what are you doing here? The berserker went berserk. What? On the other side, because Wu Ming said that he was going to find the servant he was looking for, he separated from Jia Li and Mordred with his own skill. Really, why did you say, I have solo action, so I'll leave first? You think you're so great just because you have solo action? Mordred, who was in spirit form, was wearing a pair of shorts, leather boots, a bra that barely covered her breasts, and a red jacket. She was walking with a displeased expression on her face. Don't say that. After all, it's General's wish. Besides, aren't you wearing the clothes that you really want to wear? Jia Li walked beside Mordred and observed the surrounding terrain. We are in the enemy's base, and no one is ambushing us. After that, there were a few people in the shadow in front of them. They were cyborgs that looked basically the same. Behind the cyborgs stood several large stone golems. Not only in front, but there were also enemies on the roof and behind them. Ha ha ha, as expected of my master, you even used yourself as bait. Mordred patted Jia Li's back and laughed happily. Ahem. I'll leave the golems to you, and the cyborgs to me, okay? Jia Li coughed a few times. Of course. Chapter 60. At night. After separating from Leo and Mordred, Wu Ming embarked on a journey to find Joan of Arc. I always feel that there's something wrong with that priest, as if he saw through me. Wu Ming walked on the road, thinking about what happened in the church just now. Forget it, the most important thing now is to find Jean. She must have appeared as the ruler. Since it's a daily routine, she will definitely come here, Tulifas. What I need to do now is to set up some detection magic. Wu Ming couldn't help but show a proud smile. Fortunately, Dragonist also descended into this body as a noble phantasm. After finding a hidden place, Wu Ming opened Golden Ripple, reached into his hand, and took out a large number of scrolls. I remember Yael and the others gave me a scroll with reverse detection magic. Sure enough, after picking and choosing for a while, Wu Ming found the scrolls. That kind of scroll could block the opponent's detection magic, which was the so-called false eye with the ability to see through the truth. Wu Ming planned to set up that kind of scroll in many places. Well, although there are many skills in the game that can detect this kind of magic, I believe that unless it's a servant's special skill, it's impossible for a magician to detect this kind of magic. Then, Wu Ming began to run all over Tulifas. Fortunately, Wu Ming had the skill magic, otherwise, it would be unrealistic to set up those scrolls in one night. After all, the servant's body also limited some of Wu Ming's skills. For example, Wu Ming forgot all the skills related to Lune's magic. The reason why he didn't forget the magic in Yggdrasil was because those magic were not the products of the moon world, and the servant's body couldn't make them forget. Although it's interesting, the servant's body is really inconvenient. After all, Wu Ming was not a dead hero. Being able to walk in the world again was a rare benefit for those heroes. Who would care about forgetting their skills because of their class? Huh? Is Master and Mordred done? Just as Wu Ming was setting up the magic scroll, he detected that Jia Li and Mordred were ambushed by the Yugamirene side. However, this ambush was only a probing attack by the cyborgs and the marionettes. Right now, Jia Li and Mordred were heading towards Wu Ming. Wuming sat on a big tree and looked up at the starry sky, waiting for Jia Li and Mordred. The starry sky in Nasaric time is still the best. That's why, as long as we win the battle, it's fine even if we have to use our teeth. This was Mordred. Where did you come from, Berserker? Seriously. This was Lion Jia Li. Yo, did you have fun, Saber? Wuming jumped down from the tree and waved at Mordred. How could it be fun? Those magic puppets can't even take a beating. Mordred shrugged. Looks like it's a test by the other side. Well, General, have you found the servant you're looking for? Is she really not a member of the black side? Jia Li asked. Ah, not yet. But didn't I say that she will only become a ruler, not a servant of both sides? Wuming said. It better be true. If she's not a ruler but a black servant, I will definitely beat her until she pisses her pants. Humph. Mordred turned her head away fiercely. Actually, I've been curious for a long time. I remember in King Arthur's legend, Mordred and the Villo had a good relationship. Before Lion Jia Li could finish speaking, a crimson-red scarlet thunder demon sword was pressed against his neck. Who would have a good relationship with him? Be careful if you keep talking nonsense. I know, put down the sword first. Jia Li said embarrassedly. Hearing this, Mordred put down the sword. Ha 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 ha, you're right, Master. Mordred and I have a good relationship. As for why Mordred is so mean to me, it's just a matter of bloodline. Wuming smiled and patted Jia Li's back. It was rare that Mordred didn't refute. She just turned her head away. Seeing this, Jia Li knew that it must be another story, so he didn't ask anything more. Well, where are you going next? Wuming asked. Back to the stronghold to rest. What about you? Do you want to continue looking for the ruler? Of course, then that's it. If there's anything, contact me through the contract. After that, Wuming's spirit body disappeared. Let's go, Saber. I know. On the other side, Wuming and Jia Li just separated from Mordred, and Wuming received the news of Jia Li. Oh. The red berserker went berserk? He's coming here, so is he going to attack the black team's base? As expected of a berserker. What are you going to do? Jia Li asked. You tell the priest, I'll go and see, Wuming said. Understood. After that, Jia Li cut off the connection. Wuming, on the other hand, went to the direction that Lion Jia Li said to meet up with the Red Archer and Red Rider who came to support the Red Berserker. In the forest near the Yugdamarinia's castle, a tall man wearing prisoner-restraining iron armor was constantly moving forward. He let out a terrifying laugh as he spoke. Ha 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 ha, oppressor. Oppressor. On the tree behind him, there were only two figures, a man and a woman. The woman wore a green-brown dress with black garter socks, long green hair to her waist, beast ears on her head, and a beast tail behind her. The man wore a Greek-style light warrior suit, a red scarf fluttering behind him, green short straight hair fluttering in the wind, and a wisp of bangs fluttering in front of his forehead. It wasn't until the Red Berserker was temporarily intercepted by the enemy's golem that the two began to talk. You think you can only abandon him, Rider? You think it's strange that you can persuade him, Big Sister? My name is Atlanta, don't call me Big Sister, Achilles, the woman who claimed to be Atlanta said. This is just a more intimate name, don't mind it. In this regard, the person called Achilles just smiled. Then, Achilles stopped laughing and said, since there's a chance, let's see those guys from the black team. Well, but if this guy uses noble phantasm, retreat immediately, Atlanta said. Understood, Achilles said. You are Red Archer and Red Rider. Suddenly, a voice came from behind the two. Chapter 61. Who is it? Achilles shouted and instantly condensed a cross spear and stabbed backward. Atlanta also drew her bow and aimed at Wuming who was behind Achilles. Sorry, I came here without telling you. I hope I didn't scare you. Wyrm held the spear that Achilles stabbed with one hand and raised the other hand as if he was waving. You are saber on our side. After all, Fengshiro had previously informed the two through the contract that there would be a saber coming to them. As for why he said it as if there were other red sabers, Achilles and Atlanta didn't care anymore. Well, it's the first time we met. I'm Sodric, summoning with the saber profession. I'm Atlanta, summoning with the archer profession. I'm Achilles, summoning with the rider profession. I didn't expect you to be saber, I thought you were assassin, Achilles said with some pride. So, what's the situation now? Wyrm didn't care and asked the two. As you can see, Berserker is still crazy, Achilles said. I remember that Berserker's real name is Spartacus, worthy of the famous rebel. Looking at the crazy appearance, Wyrm couldn't help but sigh. By the way, have you seen your master? Achilles ignored Wyrm and asked Atlanta. No, I've only seen Semiramis and his master, the priest. Me too. The circuits are connected, and the order has been issued, but I don't see the person. This is considered abnormal. Achilles looked at his hand and felt the connection of the magic circuits, and said so. It makes sense that the magician is hiding, but it makes people feel that he is timid, Atlanta said indifferently. Saber, where is your master? Achilles asked. My master didn't move with the other masters. We moved alone, so there wasn't any abnormal situation like yours. My master, on the other hand, looks like a fiend, but surprisingly, he's not a bad guy. Wyrm waved his hand. Is that so? Then, the three of them didn't say anything. After a while, after Spartacus defeated these blocking puppets, a black servant appeared in front of them. That doesn't seem to be a lancer, is it a rider? Both of our riders like close combat. Wyrm looked at Achilles who condensed a cross spear. Of course, I prefer to carry a spear myself than riding a chariot on the battlefield. Achilles said with a smile. That's a pity, I don't like war. Wyrm said. Here. Atlanta interrupted the conversation between the two. The black rider raised his spear and seemed to have released his real name. It passed through Spartacus' leg, and Spartacus' leg was forcibly spiritualized. Immediately afterward, the black rider's master and servant came over, led by a green-haired middle-aged man riding a horse. Is that Vlad III? Wyrm said lightly. This was what Wyrm learned from the exchange of intelligence between Liu Jia and Yen Fengshiro. Ah. It should be right, Atlanta said. The black rider raised his hand, and a large amount of enchanted soil wrapped around Spartacus, and then several spikes penetrated Spartacus. At this point, the red rider's berserker was captured by the black rider. It seemed that the other side didn't have the intention to attack together. They only sent two servants who hadn't fought before to attack Wyrm's position. One for each of us, rider. Wyrm took out the meteor silver from the ripple and used magic to manifest the silver armor, and said to Achilles. Well, really, they only sent two servants, they really don't put me in their eyes, Achilles sneered. Then I'll cover you from the rear, Atlanta said. Well, I'll leave it to you, archer. It can't be helped, big sister. With that, Wyrm and Achilles walked to the tree in front of them and looked at the black rider's servants. Is it Saber and Berserker? Achilles said. One of them was a silver-haired man wearing black and silver armor and holding a long sword. The other was a pink-haired girl wearing a wedding dress and holding a hammer. Achilles just wanted to say something, but Wyrm suddenly rushed forward and rushed to the black rider's saber, swordsman. Hey! You can't be like this, that's the opponent I want. Achilles complained. Wyrm didn't know if he heard it or not, but at this moment, he had already started a hand-to-hand battle with the black rider's saber, swordsman. Maybe because of Wyrm's fierce attack, the black rider's saber had been retreating. What's wrong, black rider, is this all you can do? The black rider didn't speak, but he kept waving his sword. This feeling. Is this a special attack? When Wuming fought with the Black Rider, he felt that the other side had a sense of restraint. Wuming quickly hit the Black Rider's saber, swordsman, back a distance. Then, an arrow penetrated the atmosphere and hit the Black Rider's body, nailing it to the big tree behind him. It was an arrow shot by the Red Rider's archer. Oh! Hearing the sound, Wuming looked at Achilles and found that he was injured by the Black Rider. Achilles was a hero in the Trojan War and had many noble phantoms. Because Achilles was burned by the heavenly fire after he was born, soaked in the river Styx, he obtained an immortal body. Therefore, if you want to hurt him, you must have divinity or god-killing weapons. From this point of view, the Black Rider's archer was a follower related to God. The Black Rider's berserker, went to fight against Atlanta. When Wuming looked at the Black Rider's saber again, he raised the big sword in his hand as if he was going to release his noble phantoms. The big sword began to emit light. It looks like a special attack against the dragon's noble phantoms. Wuming felt a sense of threat from it, although it was not big. Is your master in such a hurry to let you release your noble phantoms? Then, come on. Although the other party was attacking the dragon's noble phantoms, Wuming's root dragon was not a simple dragon, so the noble phantoms that attacked the dragon's noble phantoms did not have much effect on Wuming. However, Wuming did not dare to exaggerate. He posed and prepared to release his noble phantoms. Just when Wuming thought that the other party was going to release his noble phantoms, the other party suddenly knelt on the ground like a broken string, and the light of his noble phantoms disappeared. Then, the Black Rider's saber spiritualized and left. Is there an internal conflict? It was obvious that the other party was interrupted by another command spell. There was no doubt that there were internal disagreements. After noticing that Atlanta had also retreated, Wuming knew that this time's test was almost over. Ignoring Achilles who was declaring war with the Black Rider, Wuming also disappeared in his spiritual form. This was because the detection magic he set up had found the person Wuming was looking for. On the way Wuming was looking for Jean, on the other side of the forest, the Black Rider who had left early was leading a brown-haired, red-eyed android out of the forest. Jean, on the other hand, came to the place where the Red and Black Riders were fighting and began to investigate. At this moment, a revelation came. Cedric. Jean recalled the person who appeared in the scene just now in surprise. It was obvious that this was her childhood sweetheart, Cedric. Jean put down the puppet fragment in her hand and began to run on the other side of the forest. Chapter 62. On Wuming's side, as if they were discovered, the surrounding soil gathered and formed golems, surrounding the Black Rider and the android, including Wuming. Really, I shouldn't have followed you guys. AI. Red Saber. Why are you here? Are you here to help us? The rider from the black team naturally voiced his doubts. Wuming didn't know what to say. He just waved his sword gently. The dexterous sword energy destroyed the golem surrounding the three people. Wuming turned to look at the Black Rider and the android. He saw the hope of survival in the eyes of the android. Wuming smiled. For this kind of guy who resisted fate, Wuming didn't hate Wuming. Wuming reached out, opened the ripple, and took out a bag from it. This was not an infinite backpack, just an ordinary bag. Wuming had to admit the advantages of game items. The collision damage of the outside world would not affect the things in the bag in the slightest. It would only reduce the durability. If the durability became zero, the bag would disappear. After filling more than a dozen bottles of red potions, Wuming threw the bag and a magic scroll to the Black Rider. After a moment of confusion, the Black Rider caught the bag and scroll. What is this? He asked. There is a potion in the bag to heal this android. The scroll is a magic that can temporarily block the perception of the command curse. No, it's a magic item. Take this android and leave quickly. A servant is coming. Wuming said lightly. Oh. You are a good man. My name is Astolfo. What about you? Wuming said in his heart, no wonder. Astolfo, one of the 12 warriors of Charlemagne, was a rational person. He looked at the other party's outfit. The upper body was okay, a light night outfit, a fluffy cloak, but the lower body was a short skirt, suspenders, and long night boots. As expected of a rational person. I'm an enemy servant. Is it okay for you to tell me your real name? Wuming joked. As if he just realized something, the servant named Astolfo smiled nervously and awkwardly. My real name is Cedric, a French general. Just call me that for now. Wuming looked at Astolfo helplessly. Not bad, don't you think? Astolfo looked at the androids. The androids didn't come back to their senses. After all, if they didn't hear it wrong, the servant in front of them gave Astolfo a potion to heal him. Ah, yes, the android said tiredly. At this moment, a pot-bellied middle-aged man with a black saber caught up from behind. Stop! The middle-aged man shouted. Then, he lowered his head and panted heavily with his hands on his knees. Damn it, why did you send me to do this kind of task? Gold didn't realize Wuming's existence. It wasn't until he saw his servant holding a sword and looking ahead vigilantly that he noticed Wuming's existence. Red servant, why are you here? This Gold seemed to be frightened, and he quickly ordered his servant, Quick, Siegfried, take him down. It could be seen that the master's spirit has been greatly stimulated, and he directly exposed his servant's real name. Is that so, Siegfried? No wonder I have a bad feeling. I'm Cedric, the other saber of the red team, nice to meet you. The bad feeling that Wuming said was the effect of the dragon's special attack. After all, Wuming had the dragon attribute, coupled with Cedric's skill, Magic Dragon EX, it was inevitable that he would feel uncomfortable facing Siegfried. What? Another saber? But the one from before is also saber. Why do you have 2 sabers? Gold exclaimed. Wuming knew that Gold was talking about Mordred, but he didn't say anything and said to Gold. Don't worry, after tonight, I won't participate in the battle between the red team and the black team. I'm an extra servant summoned by the red team, so let me fight with you for the time being. In that case, we'll go first, bye-bye, Astolfo said and began to run to the other side with the cyborgs. What? No, wait. Wuming waved his sword in front of Gold, which suddenly scared him. Just stay there obediently. Although I won't attack the masters, I hope that you'll stay there obediently. Damn it. In that case, there's no need to worry. Ziegfeld, go, he yelled hysterically. Siegfried flew forward, holding his sword, and slashed at Wuming. Clang! Wuming took out his meteor silver and blocked Siegfried's demon sword. The same silver-white sword, a holy sword and a demon sword, constantly collided with each other like a hurricane. That caused Gold to be sent flying, his head hit a tree, and he fainted. Because of the presence of the master, Siegfried didn't fight too much with Wuming, and he paid attention to stay away from the master. Although Wuming wouldn't take the initiative to attack other masters, he didn't care about that. Because Siegfried couldn't go all out, but because Siegfried had the attribute of the dragon's special attack, the two were tied for the time being. With a feint, Wuming and Siegfried moved away and stood facing each other. You're really like a machine. This sentence made Siegfried's expression waver. The reason why Wuming compared Siegfried to a machine was not because Siegfried didn't know how to think, but because Wuming could see that Siegfried didn't have any desires. Coupled with the story of Siegfried in the Nibelungen route, Wuming said that Siegfried was like a machine. You're a hero, don't you have anything you want to do? Even if you're a machine, you should have a wish. Wuming held his sword with one hand and put the other hand on his waist. Siegfried didn't speak, because he didn't know what he wanted to do. Just then, Astolfo came back with the android he took away. Not good. Cedric. He's dying, what should we do? Astolfo held the android who was constantly coughing up blood and had fainted, and asked Wyrm anxiously. Are you an idiot? Didn't I give you the potion to treat him? Forget it, let me take a look. With that, Wyrm walked towards the two. As he walked, Wyrm glanced at Siegfried. Think about it, what do you really want to do? What I want to do? My wish is to make my own decision to do something. Siegfried muttered. Wyrm took out a bottle of potion from the golden ripples and poured it all into the android's mouth. The android's body instantly emitted a green light. It seems that the potion is effective, but it only treats the symptoms and not the root cause. Wyrm touched his chin. But this was only temporary. This android had a defect in his body, which caused the blood vessels in his body to rupture and bleed. The potion only temporarily treated the injuries in his body. What do you mean, Sodric? Astolfo asked. It means that he won't live long, and it's very likely that he will face the crisis of death every day. After all, this is the racial defect of the androids. The one who caused the injury to the android was himself. This was the racial defect of the androids, which made them unable to survive outside the incubator. After all, the healing potion couldn't eliminate the racial defect. Then what can you do? Astolfo looked at Wyrm with tears in his eyes. Wyrm turned his head away helplessly. Unless I change his race, I can't do anything about it. If only I was summoned as a caster. If Wyrm was summoned as a caster, he could use the uninscribed book and the staff of Anziwurgen. Although Wyrm could also use the uninscribed book as a saber, he couldn't use high-level magic because of his rank. It was just like in the game Yggdrasil, there was a sorcerer who used Perfect Warrior to equip the sorcerer's equipment, but as a result, he couldn't use the sorcerer's skills and items. Wyrm's items were all game items. In addition to the racial conversion items, there were healing potions in the game for injuries, detoxification items for poisons, and holy items for curses, but many of those items couldn't be used by his current rank. Apart from those items, Wyrm didn't have any items to remedy racial defects. After all, racial defects were common in the game, and customer service wouldn't specifically prepare items to overcome racial defects for a certain race. Just like Satya's vampire race, Satya had all the weaknesses of vampires, but those weaknesses were all weakened or protected by item effects, and they couldn't be eliminated completely. Although there were androids in Nasaric, the androids in the game had no defects. In this regard, Wyrm couldn't do anything about it. You can try the power of the Holy Grail, or ask its creator. I think if it's the one who made it, there should be a way to prolong its life. At that moment, Joan of Arc, who Wyrm was looking for, came here. Chapter 63. Jean stood on a stone and watched all of this. After seeing Wyrm, Jean said in a trembling voice. Sodric, is it really you? Yo Jean. Wyrm waved at Jean and smiled. A gust of wind blew, and Jean flew over and hugged Wyrm tightly. Sodric, I. Jean buried her head in Wyrm's arms, crying, wanting to say something, but she didn't know what to say. Jean. Wyrm also hugged Jean tightly. At this moment, no one spoke. After a while, Astolfo raised his hand and said. Don't hug him, he's dying. Hearing this, Wyrm and Jean hurriedly separated. Jean's face was red, and she turned her head away in embarrassment. Wyrm looked at Astolfo fiercely, but Wyrm also knew the severity of the situation and didn't mean to blame Astolfo. I have a way to save him. At this moment, Siegfried spoke. You have a way. As far as Wyrm knew, Siegfried didn't have any life-saving items in Song of the Nibelungen, so Wyrm asked. Ah, yes, I have a way. With that said, Siegfried put his hand in front of himself. Wyrm and others knew what Siegfried was going to do at this moment, and they didn't say anything. Only Jean said, please wait a minute. You can't, Siegfried. With Jean's character and her identity as the supervisor of the Holy Grail War, she won't let Siegfried choose this path. Joan of Arc sincerely cared about the masters and servants of the Holy Grail War. But Siegfried didn't want to listen to Jean. He inserted his hand into his abdomen above his abdomen, avoided the ribs, and took out his heart. This is my wish, to help him, with my own will. Siegfried took his heart, placed it on the android's chest, and pushed it into his body. When the heart entered the body, it was like an object entering the water surface, causing ripples. Please, Sodric, Siegfried disappeared, like a hero. Soon, the android with Siegfried's heart woke up. This is... His red eyes were full of confusion, and he looked at Wyrm, Jean, and Astolfo with confused eyes. You are saved, Siegfried gave you his heart, and now your body has become a normal person. After hearing this sentence, he touched his chest uncertainly, then said very slowly, I live. Yes, now you just need to give yourself a name. I will take care of the rest for you, Fang Xian, Wyrm said sincerely to him. Later, Siegfried left Siegfried's heart, Siegfried, and the android with Siegfried, left, leaving the unconscious Siegfried. Soon, someone found the unconscious Siegfried and took him away. Tulipa's, Myrenia Citadel. There were many figures gathered in the hall, some were servants, and some were masters. Vlad III, who had met Wyrm once, was sitting on the throne, and next to him stood the team leader of Yugdamarinia, Danik Priestone Yugdamarinia. This was a young man who looked like he was in his 20s or 30s, but in fact, he had lived for nearly 100 years. He had purple pupils and long dark green hair tied into a ponytail with a black hair band. He was wearing a black and white uniform of the Yugdamarinia race and a white cloak. He looked at Siegfried, who was devastated, and said, So, what the hell is going on, Fried Mujik Yugdamarinia? Why did Saber disappear? I don't know. I was in a coma, why did this happen? Fried seemed to be devastated, and he couldn't speak properly. At this time, Black Castor said, I extracted a trace of the image from the magic crystals on the scene. Can you play it, Avisbrin? Vlad III asked. Yes. A voice without a trace of emotion came from under Avisbrin's mask. Through the magic projection, everyone saw an incomplete picture, but they already knew the specific reason for Saber's disappearance. I didn't expect Saber to choose to give up her life for the sake of that android. Black Berserker Frankenstein's master, Kals Fulvig Yugdamarinia, said. In short, the current situation is very unfavorable for us. Although we captured the Red Berserker, we lost Saber, our strongest combat power, Assassin is out of control, and Rider has defected. The Red Team may also know about our situation, Avisbrin said. So, how about using the command spell to recall Rider? Cowles asked. It's useless, Rider's magical power is under the bonus of Noble Phantasm. Even if we use the command spell, there will be 2 of them. It's not worth it at all, Black Rider's master, Selenikai Esker Yugdamarinia said. I will personally look for Rider, please rest assured, Patriarch. Okay. Fried, do you have any information about the 2 sabers of the Red Team? Titanic asked. He didn't have much hope, he just wanted to ask. The result was beyond his expectations. Yes, there is information, there are 2 red sabers, and the servant who fought against Ziegfeld before is called Sodlek. Oh, the famous French general, the hero of the nation? Vlad III was obviously interested in Sodlek, who was also a hero of the nation. And he also said, he is an additional servant summoned, and he said that after tonight, he will no longer be our enemy. Fried said nervously. What does that mean? Cowles wondered. It seems that Sodlek's identity is a bit special, but in any case, we have to be prepared. Just like that, in the first night of the short confrontation, the black and red sides ended with both sides suffering losses. On the other side, Wyrm, Jean, and Astolfo brought the android named Ziegfeld to a warm-hearted farmer's house. Then, Astolfo, I'll leave Ziegfeld to you. Okay, leave it to me. Astolfo raised his hand and smiled happily. Remember to use the scroll I gave you, it can temporarily block the connection between you and your master, but remember not to get close to your master, or you will be discovered. Yes, yes. Then, Wyrm looked at Ziegfeld again. Ziegfeld, now is the time for you to think about how to live in the future. After all, you already have the lifespan of a normal person. I don't know. Ziegfeld shook his head. He, who was born as a magic supply, didn't know what to do at the moment, he just wanted to live. Then think about it, no matter what you do, don't go against your heart, follow the guidance of your heart. Goodbye, Ziegfeld, Astolfo. After that, Wyrm turned and looked at Jean, the two smiled and left side by side. Chapter 64. Wyrm and Jean walked one after the other on the ground illuminated by the moonlight. Logically speaking, with their intimate relationship, they should be able to talk about everything. However, neither of them spoke at the moment. They just walked quietly and enjoyed a moment of peace. Sodric, what is your wish to participate in the Holy Grail War? After a moment of silence, Jean took the lead to speak. Don't you know me, Jean? I don't have any wish. Wyrm turned around and smiled at Jean. I came to the Holy Grail War to find you. Is that so? Jean was a little overwhelmed at the moment. Although she was a perfect saintess in front of others, whenever she was alone with her childhood sweetheart, she would become the village girl she was when she was a child. Looking at the confused Jean, Wyrm smiled and touched her face. I still remember what you said before we were burned to death. Jean froze for a moment, then remembered something. Her cheeks that were touched by Wyrm became flushed. That. No. Wyrm looked at Jean, who was already incoherent, smiled, took her hand, and began to walk forward. While walking, he said, well, I know you want to give everything to the Lord now. Ah. No, that. I don't mean to go back on my words. Jean lowered her voice. If Wyrm didn't listen carefully, he wouldn't have heard it. So, when you fulfill your promise to me, then you can give your all to the Lord. Jean was a little overwhelmed. She promised Wyrm to marry her before, but now both of them have become servants, so marriage is impossible. And Wyrm asked to fulfill his promise before letting her go, that is to say, yes, I decided to hold your hand all the time and not let go. Although Wyrm was a scumbag when he said that. Thinking about Artoria, Gilgamesh, and Enkidu in the hands of Wyrm's original body, well, Maeve didn't count. Wyrm only treated her as a little sister. Yes, she was his younger sister. Actually, Gilgamesh and Enkidu could be considered daughters, and only Artoria could be counted as one. However, because Artoria had become a queen, she could no longer be with Wyrm. In that case, he wasn't really a scumbag. Wyrm didn't notice that Jean's gaze on him had changed. Why do I feel like you were a scumbag just now? Alas. The adorable saintess actually called him a scum. Was there a mistake? How could that be? It's wrong to think that way. Jean, by the way, you were summoned by the Holy Grail as a ruler. Is there anything unusual? Wyrm laughed and changed the topic. Well, I originally thought that you were the anomaly this time, but after meeting you, I found that the anomaly hasn't been solved yet. There are other anomalies in this Holy Grail War. Jean replied seriously. If there really is an abnormality, then I think the Red Party Master is an abnormality. My master and I have met a priest before. He is the supervisor of this Holy Grail War and the Red Party Master. However, whether it is me, my master, or Mordred, we all feel that there is something wrong with that priest. Is that so, Soderlek? Where is your master now? I want to ask in person. Jean thought for a while and asked Wyrm. He is not in Tulifas now. He was entrusted by the Magic Association to deal with the recent serial killings. Wyrm shook his head. If that's the case, then okay. He will be back in a few days. For now, go on a date with me, Jean, alas. Alas. Early the next morning, Wyrm took Jean, who had changed into casual clothes, to walk around the town. Because Jean was in the form of a physical body, Jean could not spiritualize, and had the functions of a normal person, such as eating and sleeping. If Jean did not eat and sleep, it would make her tired, so Wyrm forced Jean, whose face was red, to stay in a hotel for the night. Of course, they booked 2 rooms. In terms of money, Wyrm took out a few gold coins and exchanged them for some money. Wyrm and Jean walked on the street and strolled around casually. Feeling Jean's resentful eyes, Wyrm smiled. Really, Soderlek, you're making fun of me again. Well, you think too much. Okay, I'll treat you to something to eat. Okay, then I'll forgive you. As expected, Jean is still Jean, she hasn't changed at all. Did you say something? Why would I? Let's go, the taste of this shop is not bad, I've been here with my master before. Then, I'll try the food you recommended, Soderlek. Jean smiled sweetly at Wyrm, then turned and walked into the shop. Wyrm froze for a moment, then recovered. He smiled bitterly and shook his head. Really, I was fooled by you, Jean. Wyrm and Jean had a very pleasant breakfast. During this process, Wyrm and Jean did not realize that the 2 of them seemed to have returned to the age of 16, before they joined the army. The 2 of them were immersed in this happy time. But now it was the time of the Holy Grail War. After a while, Wyrm received a message from Leo. General, are you in Tolifas now? Yes, what's wrong, master? The serial killings were done by Black Assassin, we couldn't get rid of him. It seems to be some kind of skill or noble artifact, saber, and I can't remember any information about Black Assassin, we only know that he's Jack the Rifleman. I see, Fog Knight's man-killer fiend, then I can understand why you can't remember the information. Then, Wyrm also had a short confrontation with Black's archer and his master, Saber and Black Archer were both injured, the other side retreated. What about Mordred, she's fine, right? After all, Wyrm and Mordred had some relationship. It's not a big deal, I've already healed Saber, also, Father Shiro knows that I'm going to launch an attack on Black tonight, we might be late. If possible, help Red. Sorry, Master, I've already found the person I'm looking for, I've decided to stay neutral. Sigh. So sudden. Well, I won't force you, I'll rush back as soon as possible, then you can enjoy your peaceful days in the modern world. Ha ha ha, Master, you're so gentle, but don't worry, I'll try my best not to interfere in the war between Black and Red. Forget it, do as you please, that's it. Lion Jiali disconnected the communication with Wyrm. Sodric, are you going to give up on the Holy Grail? Jean asked worriedly. My goal has been achieved, plus I was summoned by cheating, as the ruler, you definitely won't allow me to participate in the Holy Grail War anymore, right? That's true, looking at Jean's worried expression, Wyrm took Jean's hand. Let's not worry about that for now, they'll only fight at night anyway, you can just be a village girl and go on a date with me during the day. Wait, just like that, Wyrm and Jean had a pleasant date. And on the other side. After dinner, Sieg sat in the courtyard in a daze. Yo, what are you thinking about, Sieg? Astolfo jumped out from behind Sieg. Hey, can I sit next to you? Astolfo, who had already sat down, asked. You've already sat down. Sieg said, somewhat at a loss. Sigh. So, what are you worried about? Astolfo smiled awkwardly. I'm thinking about what Sodric said to me. Sieg withdrew his gaze from Astolfo and continued to stare blankly. That sentence, don't go against your heart, follow the direction your heart points to. Astolfo said with his finger on his cheek. As expected of the general who saved France, then Astolfo smiled sweetly at Sieg. Yes, he's a hero. So, what are you thinking, Sieg? Hearing this, Sieg looked at Astolfo, then touched his chest, feeling the beating of his heart. I. Chapter 65. I want to save my compatriots, those androids. Sieg said seriously. Then let's go. Astolfo smiled and pulled Sieg up. Hey! But you will be discovered by your master. Sieg didn't want Astolfo to return to his master's side because Astolfo had been complaining about how bad his master was and how perverted he was. It's okay, and I'm still a servant of the black side. Let's go and observe when the red side and the black side start fighting. When the time comes, I'll go and support the black side, and you can go and save your compatriots. What do you think? Sieg looked at Astolfo's smile and couldn't help but smile. Yes. Ryder, I'll leave it to you. Oh. Leave it to me. In this way, as if fate was playing tricks on them, when the two saw a huge sky castle flying to the grassland in front of Damarinia's fortress, they decided that the red side and the black side would fight, and they took action. And Wyrm accompanied Joan of Arc to wait for the beginning of the war. Wyrm and Joan of Arc stood on the side of the grassland, looking at the huge fortress floating in the air. That's the Sky Garden. Joan of Arc's skill, real name Break, played a role, and she was surprised to shout out the real name of the noble phantasm. This is really an ill-fated relationship, Wyrm said. Although it was not from the same period, it was a Babylonian building after all, and Wyrm couldn't help but feel a little emotional. The red side's master must be there. Let's find a way to enter. Joan of Arc was about to start moving. Wait, Rena. Wyrm reached out and pulled Joan of Arc's hair braid. Ah! Joan of Arc screamed and knelt on the ground. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Wyrm looked at Joan of Arc, who was kneeling on the ground with tears in her eyes, and quickly apologized and stretched out his hand to help Joan of Arc up. Really, Wyrm, you are still so rough, can't you be gentle? Joan of Arc grabbed Wyrm's hand and stood up. Cough. Do you have a way to get to the space garden? Wyrm quickly changed the topic. This. Jean blushed and stopped talking. She was too anxious just now. She didn't even think about how to enter the sky garden in the sky. It's still the same as before. Wyrm smiled helplessly and took out a wing-shaped pendant from the golden ripples. Here, take this. Wyrm reached out and handed it to Joan of Arc. After Jean took it, she checked the pendant's effect with true name detection. It can actually allow people to gain the ability to fly, and all they need to do is chant the incantation. Even ordinary people can use it. Jean couldn't believe it. After all, no matter how convenient this kind of magic item was, it would not be separated from magic power. This item could be used by ordinary people without magic power. How could Jean not be surprised? After all, this was a game. There would definitely be items that didn't cost anything. For example, this pendant that allowed players to fly in the game. That was a high-level item that President Anziwagong got at a high price. It didn't cost any magic power or EXP to use. Well, this is one of the treasures that the Mystic Dragon was guarding after I defeated him. Wyrm used his suppression power to create an interface for him. What about you, won't you go with me? Jean asked. Well, because there is only one, I won't go. That was the truth. There was only one pendant. Although Wyrm could use high-level item creation to create another one, Wyrm still couldn't use that skill because of the restriction of his class. It seems that Castor is more suitable for me, Wyrm thought. Well, then I'll go by myself. You be careful. Also, don't participate in the battle between the two sides, understand? Jean said to Wyrm quite seriously. Yes. My saintess, this one understands, Wyrm playfully replied to Joan of Arc. Really, Jean's cheeks blushed, and she didn't care about Wyrm anymore. Wearing the pendant, she said the spell, fly, that Wyrm told her, and her body floated. Wow, I'm really flying. After a short adaptation, Jean said to Wuming. Then I'll go first. Okay. They didn't talk too much because they trusted each other. After watching Jean fly away, Wuming said rather bored. So, what should I do now? Watch the battle. With that thought in mind, Wuming found a big stone and sat down. Watching the two sides began to march. The soldiers of the red side were the dragon teeth that fell from the sky garden. Except for the head that looked like a broken skull, it was no different from Nazarik's skeleton soldiers. Looking at the black side, as Wuming expected, it was a large group of androids and golems. Looking at the androids, Wuming thought of Sieg again. I don't know how Sieg and Astolfo are doing, but with Sieg's temperament, he might return to Mylnia City to save his compatriots. Speaking of Sieg, Wuming couldn't help but think of Sieg Fei. Ah, I didn't expect the Dragon Slayer hero Sieg Fei to be such a person. Speaking of which, when I fought with Sieg Fei, I always felt uncomfortable. It felt like I was fighting with my natural enemy. Is it because Sieg Fei is a Dragon Slayer? Wuming couldn't help but think of when he fought with Sieg Fei, there was always a special force that passed to Wuming. Although it didn't affect Wuming much, he still felt uncomfortable. At that moment, a large number of ripples appeared in front of the sky garden, and countless arrows were shot out from it, directly hitting the androids and golems. Is that the red side archer's noble phantasm? Although the damage of each arrow is not high, it's hard to say if it's stacked. Then, a large number of green electric currents hit the arrow formation and scattered it. Is it another noble phantasm? Immediately afterward, a large number of iron pillars pierced the corresponding number of Dragon Fang soldiers. That's Vlad III's noble phantasm, right? As expected of the Impaler Duke. Then, Wuming found that the red side Lancer and Vlad III were fighting. One moment the iron pillars pierced, the next moment the flames danced, those two were fighting very well. Sure enough, for these heroes, I'm still too inexperienced. Wuming couldn't help but think of his master, Skaha. Although I didn't fall behind the skills taught by my master, I don't have what a hero should have. It couldn't be helped. Wuming, as the root dragon, was born extraordinary. Before the dragon transformation, his skin could be said to be indestructible because of the dragon scales, and after the dragon transformation, he could resist EX-level noble phantasms. He also had almost unlimited mana. In any case, Silent Wonder had never run out of mana. In fact, he had never even used up 1/3 of his mana. The racial characteristic of time and space basically had no effect on Wuming, and he could freely travel through time and space tunnels. Furthermore, he had the ability to sublimate a relic. Imagine if Wuming could sublimate hundreds or thousands of grade A offensive relic and release his real name at the same time. Since he had sufficient mana, the scene would be inhumane. That was the power of Wuming's root dragon when it was still underage. If it was an adult root dragon, it would be unimaginable. At that moment, Wuming saw Astolfo riding an eagle on the battlefield. Seeing that he said something to Vlad III, who had just separated from the Red Lancer, Astolfo flew toward the sky garden with a happy look on his face. Could it be? Sieg really came back to save those androids? Wuming couldn't help but think. Chapter 66. Sieg and Astolfo began to take action after seeing the battle between the two sides. Rider, be sure to come back safely. Sieg looked at Astolfo and said. Astolfo nodded heavily, and then rode the eagle hidden in space. Hippogriff. With the cry of an eagle, a creature with the upper body of a griffin and the lower body of a horse flew over. Astolfo leaped up and landed on the eagle's back. Then, I'll go first, Astolfo waved his hand, and the eagle flapped its wings and flew into the sky. Sieg, on the other hand, went to Mylnia Fortress to rescue his compatriots. After seeing Astolfo, Wuming realized that Sieg might also go to Mylnia Fortress, so he also got up and went. As for what Joan of Arc said about not doing anything to hinder the Holy Grail War, he would do it anyway. Anyway, Joan of Arc would definitely not punish him. Wuming thought so and rushed to Milnia fortress. When he arrived at the gate of the fortress, Wuming saw Sieg treating the injured androids. It seemed that the androids were persuaded by Sieg and were constantly treating their companions. Wuming stepped forward without hesitation and said, "Yo Sieg." Sieg heard someone calling him and looked back. "Mr. Solderlake. Why are you here?" The rest of the androids picked up their weapons and pointed at Wuming. Only then did Sieg remember that Wuming was still a Red Team follower. Naturally, his purpose for coming to Black Fortress was different. "Don't worry, I have already left the Holy Grail War, and I won't attack you. Put down your weapons, and even if I want to attack, you can't resist at all." After saying that, Wuming also looked at Sieg, asking him to explain. "Everyone, put down your weapons first. Mr. Solderlake has helped me before, and I believe that he will not lie to us." After thinking for a while, the androids put down their weapons. "When I saw Astolfo on the battlefield, I guessed that you would definitely come to rescue your companions. Have you thought about it?" "Yes, thank you very much for what Mr. Solderlake said to me. I have decided to save my companions and give them freedom," Sieg said with a firm look. "Then let's go. In order to prevent the black followers from obstructing us, I will accompany you." After saying that, he walked into Milnia fortress from the side door. Yeah, I'll leave it to you." After that, Sieg and the androids followed Wuming in. However, speaking of which, is it really a good idea for me to walk into the enemy's base so openly? Wuming thought. After Jean wore the pendant Wuming gave her, she flew into the sky and went straight to the Sky Garden. However, during this process, a large number of dragon teeth soldiers with skeletal wings kept attacking Jean. Bang! Joan of Arc waved the unspread holy flag to disperse the last dragon tooth soldier nearby. Looking at the endless stream of dragon fang soldiers flying over, Jean couldn't help but be speechless. So many dragon teeth soldiers can't get through. Just when Jean was distressed, a revelation came. She saw the Red Master, a man in a priest's outfit, fighting with the Black Berserker in the nearby forest, and standing next to him was a man in a British green and brown literary costume. That's Red Team's Master and Caster. After seeing the revelation, Jean did not hesitate to turn and fly in the direction of the forest. Assassin Semiramis, who was controlling the fortress in the Sky Garden, saw that Jean did not hesitate to run in the direction of her master, and immediately contacted the master who was fighting with the Red Berserker in the forest. "Master, the ruler really did not hesitate to rush to your position." "Understood. Retreat, Caster," Yen Fengshiro said without turning his head. Red Caster Shakespeare said with a regretful look. "Now is the time to be excited. Do you really want to retreat?" Although Caster said so, he never had the slightest intention to fight. He just kept writing things, including when Yen Fengshiro was fighting. "Yes, retreat immediately." "Yes." Caster immediately disappeared in spirit form. Yen Fengshiro took out 4 black keys and threw them in front of the Red Berserker Frankenstein. The black keys instantly became bigger, blocking Frankenstein's advance, leaving only Frankenstein's roar. After making sure that the Red Berserker couldn't catch up, Yen Fengshiro ran back. At that moment, Jean was still far away from the forest. Just as Semiramis breathed a sigh of relief, she discovered the servant who came to attack the Sky Garden. "Oh, there is a horse that can fly." Semiramis sighed as he looked at the eagle that Astolfo was riding. But in fact, was it really good to call the eagle a horse? Immediately afterward, those dragon teeth soldiers with wings changed direction and went to attack the black rider Astolfo. "Whoa, what are these things, so disgusting?" Astolfo, who was riding the eagle, shouted. Because Astolfo didn't want to do anything, he kept dodging the dragon teeth soldiers and attacked from time to time. Then he activated his noble phantasm, the Declaration of Destruction, and defeated all the dragon teeth soldiers. "What?" Semiramis was surprised. But she didn't panic. After all, her sky garden had more than one way to attack. Just when she wanted to activate her magic cannon, a meteor-like beam of light emerged from Myrenia's fortress, and the stars in the sky contributed their own light and gathered there. Then she found out that the Black Rider hurriedly flew there. At this moment, whether it was the Black Lancer Vlad III and the Red Lancer Karna who were fighting, the Black Berserker Frankenstein who was caught up in the forest because of the Red Caster's noble phantasm, the Red Caster Shakespeare who had retreated back to the Sky Garden, the Lion Jia Li and the Red Saber Mordred who were late to the edge of the battlefield, the Black Archer Sharon and the Red Rider Achilles who were fighting with each other in another part of the forest, and the Red Archer Atlanta who was pulling the renegade Red Berserker Spartacus, all of them had different reactions. The Black Servant was shocked and quickly retreated to its own fortress, but the Red Servant did not chase after it. Because of some unknown reason, its body was abnormal, so it did not chase after it. Joan of Arc also came to a halt and looked at the incomparably gorgeous light beam. That's Sodric's noble phantasm. Whoa! I told you not to disturb the Holy Grail War. At that moment, Jean complained like a child, and then flew there. At that moment, Wu Ming, the originator of the meteor-like silver-white beam of light, was holding his noble phantasm, X-Silver, or Meteor Silver, facing the Black Caster and his puppets who came to capture Sieg. It's really troublesome, I'll blow you away. Black Caster Avisbrin didn't seem to panic. It should be said that there was nothing that could make him panic, except for his own wish. If you want to stop me from fulfilling my wish, then try it, Sodric. Silver, because of the shout of his real name, the meteor silver that was constantly emitting starlight shone brightly, and as Wu Ming swung his sword, the attack containing the gathered starlight arrived. Boom! Chapter 67. Previously, when Wu Ming brought Sieg and a group of androids into the basement to rescue the androids, the Black Caster Avisbrin released the traitorous Red Berserker Spartacus and retreated after a brief confrontation with the Red Rider Achilles. On the way back to the magic workshop, he inadvertently discovered the magic of a servant, and followed the magic to find him. Then he saw Sieg. Avisbrin judged that Sieg's self-consciousness was the core he needed, so he immediately wanted to capture Sieg. Although Wu Ming said that he would not go against the black side, Wu Ming agreed to protect Sieg. Therefore, when Avisbrin summoned a large number of golems, Wu Ming directly released his noble artifact, which caused great chaos on the battlefield. After the Patriarch of Eugomyrenia, Danica, knew that a servant had broken into his base, he quickly summoned the black side servants who were on the battlefield. It happened that for some reason, the red side servants did not chase after him, but this was a good thing for the black side, so they did not pursue it. At this moment, a large amount of starlight floated in the air. Avisbrin was half kneeling on the ground in a sorry state. His clothes were tattered, and the mask he wore was also shattered, revealing his weather-beaten face as he gasped for breath. Because Wu Ming could suppress the power, Sieg and the androids were fine, and the basement where the androids were used as a magic battery was not affected. Only the ground in front of Avisbrin was completely exposed, and the golems were all turned into ashes. He didn't die after taking one of my noble artifacts. Is it because of the command charm? I said while holding the meteor silver that still had a little bit of starlight. That's right, just when the light beam hit Avisbrin, Avisbrin's master used 3 command charms to strengthen Avisbrin's magic, so that he could summon more golems and set up a large number of magic barriers. It was not until Avisbrin's magic was almost completely exhausted that Avisbrin survived. I'm sorry, Sieg, it seems that we can't save your compatriots now, Wu Ming said apologetically. No, it's okay. Sieg was still immersed in the sea of starlight at this moment and had not completely recovered. Then hurry up and retreat first. With that, Wu Ming took out another scroll and threw it to Sieg. This is an invisibility scroll that can temporarily block magic perception. You are a magician, so you should be able to use it. Sieg held the scroll, looking at Wu Ming and the androids who were saved by Sieg on the battlefield with worry. We won't save our compatriots for the time being, you should retreat first. The female android who seemed to be the leader said to Sieg expressionlessly. Alright, let's hurry up and leave. You'll only drag me down later, Wuming said. Yes, please be careful, Mr. Sodlek. With that, Sieg ran towards the other side of the battlefield. Of Avisbron of you, of Avi, of Avisbron of you of, Avisbro and of you. Wuming suddenly rushed forward and swung his sword at Avisbron. Clank! 2 iron stakes blocked Wuming's sword, making a sound of steel colliding. Wuming jumped back, and a large number of iron stakes emerged from the ground where he was originally standing. You're here, Vlad III. How dare you, General Soderlek, France's national salvation. While they were talking, Black Archer Sharon, Black Rider Astolfo, who was riding an eagle, and Black Berserker Frankenstein, who was running over, had all arrived. Except for Black Saber, who chose to commit suicide, and Black Assassin, who was out of control, all the black servants had arrived. And their masters had also gathered in a relatively safe place to watch the scene. I'm sorry, Vlad III. Although I said that I'm not your enemy, I have promised Siegfried to protect the androids. I had no choice but to attack Black Castor. Although it was an apology, Wuming didn't have the slightest intention of self-reflection on his face. Instead, his hand holding the sword was quite eager to fight. I understand you, Sodric. However, it's not right for you to ruin the battle between us and the Red followers. Well then, sinner who trespassed on my territory, leave your life behind. With Vlad III's order, Berserker Frankenstein, who was the most impatient, took the lead and rushed forward. Frankenstein rushed over, raised his heavy hammer, and smashed it down. Wuming held the meteor silver in one hand to block it, and instantly released his magic to bounce it away. Then he quickly jumped back into the air, avoiding the iron stakes that pierced out of the ground, and swung his sword to cut them off. Then his body moved against gravity to the side, avoiding the arrows that were attacking him. Then he met Berserker Frankenstein, who rushed over again. Vlad III didn't have the idea of a one-on-one fight. He followed behind Frankenstein and raised his gun to stab Wuming. In this way, Wuming dealt with Black Lancer Vlad III and Black Berserker Frankenstein while avoiding or destroying the arrows from the air and the iron stakes piercing out of the ground. Because of Wuming's supreme skill, several servants couldn't defeat Wuming even if they joined forces. As for Avisbron, he followed Jiro Cher back to his magic workshop. After all, his master no longer had the command seal and could no longer impose a compulsory order on him, and his magic was running out. If he didn't think of a way to survive in this world, he wouldn't be able to survive. Are you kidding me? How is this possible? Even 3 servants couldn't take down that French General Sodlek. He shouldn't have such strong martial arts skills. Fiore sat in a wheelchair and covered her mouth in surprise. The servant named Sodric is indeed a bit abnormal, but looking at his ability value, his real name is indeed Sodric. Collins pushed his glasses and said. The master could observe the ability value of his own servant, and naturally, he could also observe the ability value of other servants, but there was not much information about the ability value of other servants. While they were discussing, Black Rider's master yelled at his servant, Astolfo, why don't you go up? Astolfo, show them the power of one of Charlemagne's 12 warriors. Astolfo, who was flying in the air, hesitated and didn't dare to go forward. This is a little bit. Ha ha ha, I'm not that good at fighting. Astolfo laughed. Although Astolfo was one of the 12 warriors of Charlemagne, he was the weakest among them. Moreover, Astolfo had always relied on his noble phantasm to fight. It was especially effective when he was fighting against multiple enemies. Give me your noble artifact, illusionary horse of this world, right now. Ah, this is not good. Astolfo smiled awkwardly. Do it, or I will use my command seal. Serenica said fiercely. Sigh, there's no other way. Astolfo prayed that Wuming would use his noble phantasm. Chapter 68. At that moment, Wyrm made a feint and pulled away from Frankenstein and Vlad 3. Vlad 3 also stopped Frankenstein, who wanted to continue to attack. It seems that your identity is not simple, Cedric, Vlad 3 said. Being able to withstand the joint attack of 3 servants was not something a French general should have. I just used the identity of Cedric to summon Saber, but the martial arts of other identities have been deeply engraved in my mind. Wyrm swung his sword and put the meteor silver into the golden ripples of Dragonist. It seems that I can't take you down today, not someone from Cedric. Vlad 3 didn't seem to be depressed. You are wrong. I am Cedric, there is no doubt about that. It's just that I have another identity. Wyrm smiled. Then, he looked at the boundless sky. You have to be careful. You have to know that the Red Side's fortress has the Hanging Garden of Kamikaze magic. Hanging Garden? Not good. Vlad 3 also realized something. At this moment, a gigantic sky fortress appeared in the boundless sky above Mylnia Citadel. It was the Hanging Garden with the ability to block detection. The originally flat ground was broken by the powerful suction of the Hanging Garden, and the Great Holy Grail, which was located in the center of the Hanging Garden, also broke out of the ground. What? One of the Black Side Masters exclaimed in surprise. After all, it was too hard to believe that the Red Side's purpose was to directly take away the Great Holy Grail. Well then, you guys go ahead. I'll take my leave first. With that, Wyrm's spiritual form disappeared. The black servants present, Black Lancer Vlad 3, Black Archer Sharon, Black Rider Astolfo, and Black Berserker Frankenstein all followed the boulder and entered the Hanging Garden. At that moment, Jean, who was resisting the explosion of the Red Berserker Spartacus, met Wyrm who came out of Mylnia Fortress. Cedric! Jean roared. What? What's wrong, Jehan? Wyrm was shocked. Didn't I tell you not to act on your own? You have now seriously damaged the Holy Grail war between the Black and Red factions. Jean d'Arc, who was Rule, said. Although I don't have your command incantation, the command incantation that belongs to the Red Saber can be used on you, so you'd better stay put. Jean looked at Wyrm until Wyrm surrendered. Yes, I know, my saintess, Wyrm said helplessly. Besides, I was just trying to protect Siegfried. After all, this is the agreement I made with Siegfried, Wyrm said with an embarrassed smile. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. You're just looking for fun for yourself and protecting Mr. Sieg, Jean said. Really, you used to be like this too. You always acted on your own. If you didn't act on your own, you wouldn't have been accused of the Mystic Dragon, Jean said sadly. This was what was recorded in Wyrm's history. The adventurous General Cedric was attracted to the Alps by the legend and was ambushed by the British Army. In order to win the war between Britain and France, the British Army found a way to release the Mystic Dragon, who used to be a member of the Knights of the Round Table. With the help of Cedric's wisdom, Cedric barely defeated the Mystic Dragon. Jean d'Arc also dared to lead her army. Otherwise, the exhausted Cedric would have been captured by the British Army. Wyrm, on the other hand, smiled helplessly. Really, that's because it's convenient for me to use my noble phantasm. The suppression power was given to me in the history. Alright, you stay here for now. I'm going to the Sky Garden to question the Red Faction Master. If I find out that you're still running around, I'll definitely use my command incantation. After that, Jean d'Arc activated the pendant and flew into the air, heading toward the Sky Garden. Wyrm, on the other hand, smiled helplessly and waved his hand. It's good that you stay here. I still have to help Sieg save those androids. Hey! Villo! Wyrm turned his head and saw Jia Li and Mordred rushing over in a car that was almost scrapped. As soon as the car stopped, Mordred directly kicked the door and walked out. You're really good. You actually broke into the enemy's base camp alone. Mordred smiled as if she was meeting a good friend. She held Wyrm's neck and laughed. This made Jia Li confused. After all, Mordred and Wuming did not get along very well before. They were not friendly. Wuming, on the other hand, saw through Jia Li's thoughts and said, "In the Knights of the Round Table, Mordred is not liked by the other knights. Only I am willing to talk to Mordred. Of course, our relationship is good. Mordred hates me because of the bloodline problem." "What did you say?" "You bastard, who has a good relationship with you?" Mordred, like a tsundere, fiercely punched Wuming. "Bloodline?" Wuming pressed down on Mordred's fist and continued to speak to Jia Li. "Didn't you notice that Mordred's eyes turn red when she fights? That's because a little of my bloodline is mixed in, causing her eyes to turn red when she fights." Ignoring the noisy Mordred, Jia Li asked, "Speaking of which, didn't you not participate in the war between the two sides? Why did you run to the black side's base camp to make a ruckus?" Wuming smiled awkwardly. Then, Wuming told Jia Li about his experience after he and Jia Li separated. "So that's how it is," Jia Li said. "It's all because of you. Master, we didn't make it in time for this war, damn it." Mordred roared at Jia Li. Jia Li waved his hand helplessly and ignored Mordred. "So, what are you going to do now? The Saintess asked you not to run around anymore, otherwise, she will use the command seal." Jia Li asked. "Now, the black side should only have one servant, Castor. I decided to help Sieg rescue those androids first. Then, we will leave first. If the people of the Yugomarinia family see us, there will be trouble." Jia Li was about to leave. However, Mordred tugged on the lion Jia Li's clothes and said, "What are you saying, master? Since the other party has entered the Sky Garden, we should also go in." Hey! You can't be serious. That is Assassin's noble phantasm. Is it really okay for us to go in directly? Isn't that good? Let's fight directly. As a king, I will be fine. Mordred laughed. Looking at Mordred, who was spouting nonsense, Wuming laughed. "Really, Mordred, you are still so reckless." Yes, you are too reckless. At least, let's find a place to investigate first." "What is there to investigate?" "I hate magicians the most, just like Merlin, that bastard. Anyway, let's leave first." "No. Continue to attack the Sky Garden." Looking at the master and servant who were quarreling together, Wuming couldn't help but say, "You guys are really good together." After that, Wuming walked toward Marinia's fortress. Chapter 69. In the end, it was decided that Leo and Mordred would follow the suction force and enter the Sky Garden. Wuming, on the other hand, came to the basement of the androids that acted as batteries. He began to open the incubators one by one to rescue the androids. After a while, Wuming found that someone had come. When he saw the person, Wuming was a little surprised. "Sieg, why are you back so soon?" Sieg brought some of the androids that he had previously persuaded to the basement. Sigh. "Mr. Sodric, I saw that the black side servants had all entered the Sky Fortress, so I sneaked in with the scroll you gave me. After I found them, I came with them." Okay, I won't say anything more. Take it." After that, Wuming threw a bag to Sieg. It was full of recovery potions. "Give each of the rescued androids a bottle. It can temporarily restore their physical abilities. Let them come and rescue the other androids." Okay. Every time an android was rescued, it was equivalent to having more power. Soon, all the androids were liberated. Wuming said to Sieg, "So, Sieg, have you really decided to liberate the androids and let them be free? You, who originally needed orders, will no longer be ordered. What purpose do you have to live for?" Sieg replied with a firm look in his eyes. "Although what you said is indeed the truth, self-awareness should not be needed for us. I don't know if it is the right thing for us to give up our duties, but even if we can't rest in peace in the future, even if there is despair waiting in front of us, we still want to walk our own path. We don't need salvation, we need freedom of choice. So, please, Mr. Sodrick. Wyrm smiled and said, "Ah. I will help you." Then he said to Sieg, "How about this, I will go with you to negotiate with the Black Side Master. After all, they can't leave here for the time being." "Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Sodrick." Sieg and the female androids had a simple negotiation and asked her to take the basement with the androids, then followed Wyrm's footsteps. With that, Wyrm and Sieg walked out of the basement. "Speaking of which, you are really courageous. Why didn't Castor come to find you again? He didn't enter the Sky Garden." Sigh. Sieg panicked. "Don't worry, I've already heavily injured him. He's either recovering his mana somewhere or has already disappeared." Soon, Wyrm and Sieg found the masters of the Black Side gathered together. "What? The Red Team's saber. Why are you here?" Wyrm looked at the surprised expressions of the four masters in front of him and asked. "Isn't the master of Black Lancer and Black Castor here?" Uncle entered the Sky Garden with the servants. "I don't know where Rocher and Castor went." The speaker was a woman in a wheelchair. "If I remember correctly, you're the master of Black Archer." "Yes, thank you for remembering me. My name is Fiore, and I'm the next leader. Don't call me Red Saber. I was summoned by cheating. Just call me Sodrick." "Alright, Mr. Sodlek. May I know what your intentions are?" Wyrm looked at the masters who were ready to use the command spell to summon the servants. "You don't have to be nervous. I said earlier that I don't want to be enemies with you. If it weren't for Avisbrun, I wouldn't have put a noble phantasm in your fortress. What I mean is very simple. What do you want me to do for you to let those androids go?" "What? What do you mean?" Gordon, the master of Sieg, who created those androids, asked. "I want to save those androids, my compatriots," Sieg said. "Are you kidding me?" Astolfo's master, Serenikai, said lightly. It seemed that when she saw Sieg, she went crazy. "Are you kidding me? Who will let those androids go? How can I let you go?" Serenikai said crazily, ignoring Wyrm's presence. "He's mine. Astolfo is mine, but he was taken away by you scum. How can I let you go?" Serenikai roared at Sieg. "By the command spell, Astolfo, return to my side." As Serenikai's hand moved, the command spell disappeared, and Astolfo, who was originally in the Sky Garden, appeared in the storage room by teleportation. "Wah, what's going on, master?" Sigh. Sodrick and Sieg. "Astolfo, I command you to kill that android with 2 command spells." "What?" Astolfo was a little stunned. He had just been summoned, and at this moment, his master ordered him to kill the androids he saved. Looking at Astolfo, who was trembling slightly, Serenikai laughed crazily. "That's right. That's right. I want to watch you kill the people you saved, watch you fall, you can only be mine." "Mine." Ahahaha. In addition to Wyrm and Sieg, the 3 people present, Fiole, Collins, and Golder all looked at Serenikai in disbelief. "That's it." As the voice fell, the blade flashed. Serenikai fell to the ground, her head separated from her body. "It's really a servant's misfortune to have a master like you. This just gives me a bargaining chip to negotiate with you." Wyrm looked at Astolfo, who was kneeling on the ground and was about to disappear because of the death of his master. Wyrm then looked at Sieg. "Sieg, you now form a servant contract with Astolfo." "What?" Fiole and the other 2 were a little surprised that an android could form a contract with a servant. "Don't you have a command spell?" "Then hurry up, this is your bargaining chip to help your companions." Then, Wyrm looked at Fiole, Collins, and Golder. "You don't have any objections, right?" In response to this semi-threatening inquiry, the 3 could only say, "No, no, please go ahead." "Hurry up, Sieg, do you want to see Astolfo disappear?" Then, he looked at Fiore, Collins, and Gordon. You guys come out with me, leave some space for Sieg and Astolfo. Yes. Yes. The three replied in panic. Wyrm closed the door and waited outside with the three. Excuse me. Mr. Sodrick, who are you? In the face of this question, Wyrm did not answer directly. I'm a cheating servant who was summoned together with the Red Saber. My purpose is to meet the ruler, Jeanne d'Arc. Because I'm a cheating servant, I was asked by the ruler not to interfere with the Holy Grail War. Because I agreed to Siegfried's request before he died, I will protect him. So I didn't interfere with the Holy Grail War. Sieg is the one who interfered, it has nothing to do with me. Wyrm finally said like a rascal. And, I think when ruler comes down from the Sky Garden later, she will gather the remaining servants to suppress the real offenders, so we will probably be comrades later. This made the three people not dare to flatter him. As for the problem of me killing that woman, first of all, you guys attacked the people I wanted to protect. It's good that I didn't kill all of you, and I believe that you guys don't want to make a scene like that, wasting 3 command spells because of a personal grudge. In a way, I've helped you. The 3 people expressed that they had never seen such a shameless person. Chapter 70. After a while, the contract between Sieg and Astolfo was completed. Under the push of Wyrm, Sieg said that as the master of Black Rider, he was willing to be used by the black side, but the premise was that the androids could no longer be used as mana supply, and the androids could no longer live in the castle. However, Fiore said that she was only the next patriarch, and the current patriarch, Danak, was still in the Sky Garden, so she couldn't promise Sieg, but she could temporarily settle the androids before Danak returned. Sieg agreed after discussing with the androids. And Wyrm provided the black side's mana supply. Wyrm took out a tool that could provide mana supply and gave it to Fiore, letting her connect the mana supply of each servant. Then, Wyrm received a message from Leo. Wyrm had told Leo before that if there was any change in the Sky Garden, she should immediately let Mordred pass it to Wyrm through Leo. Soon, Wyrm summoned the people of the Eugomarinia family, including Sieg and Astolfo. I received a message from my master. Vlad III had been turned into a vampire and was killed by a red master. His master, Danica, had fused with the vampire and died together. Indeed, Archer also informed me that Uncle Danak and Lancer are dead, Fiore said. He is now retreating with Berserker, Ruler, and Red Saber. It is estimated that they will reach Myrenia soon. As soon as she finished, the androids ran over to report that the black side had returned. In the conference room provided by Fiore, Joan of Arc, Wyrm, Sieg, Astolfo, Fiore, Sharon, Cowles, and Gold gathered here, even Leo and Mordred were there. Except for Frankenstein, who belonged to Berserker, who did not participate, only Castor Avisbrun and his master Rock were missing. Joan of Arc began her analysis of Shiro Amakusa and the stakes of his wish. After knowing that the consequences would be severe, Eugomarinia's side already had the intention of joining forces to stop Shiro Amakusa. After a series of non-critical analysis, Joan of Arc requested for everyone to work together. After all, this Holy Grail war was already in complete chaos. Fiore agreed to Joan of Arc's request on behalf of House Eugomarinia. Because of the androids, Sieg and Astolfo, as allies of Eugomarinia, also agreed to Joan of Arc's request. Their request to give the androids freedom was also approved by Fiore, who was now the acting patriarch. As for Wyrm, he was originally a violator, so naturally, he had no right to speak. In addition, Wyrm had a relationship with Joan of Arc, so he also agreed to Joan of Arc's request. After knowing Joan of Arc's skill, divine judgment, Leo Jia and Mordred also agreed to Joan of Arc's request with a command seal. Although they would choose to cooperate even if there was no command seal, after all, if the analysis was true, then they must defeat the red side. Originally, Mordred wanted 2 command seals, but Joan of Arc refused because each servant only had 2 command seals, and Wyrm did not have a command seal, so he could only use Mordred's command seal. However, Joan of Arc never thought of using command seal to command Wyrm. It was just an excuse to refuse Mordred's request. It could be seen that the village girl was quite smart. At this point, the Holy Grail War has been completely destroyed. Now the Black Side's purpose was to defeat the Red Side's servants and masters and maintain the Holy Grail War. After the meeting was dismissed, everyone went to rest, but Wyrm was chatting with Joan of Arc. In fact, Joan of Arc was telling Wyrm about what happened in the Sky Garden. "So that's how it is, Dracula?" Wyrm said thoughtfully. "Yes, but what surprised me most was the master of all the Red Side servants, Shiro Amakusa. Joan of Arc was wearing a student's uniform, sitting on a chair. The Sage of the Far East? I didn't expect him to get a body and live for 60 years. His mental power is strong enough. After all, planning for 60 years for a goal was not something an ordinary person could do. Only a hero who becomes a heroic spirit can do that," Wyrm said slowly. Now that he thought about it, he was almost 60 years old. He couldn't remember, after all, age was meaningless for a race like the Dragon of Origin that was almost immortal. There must be something wrong with that man's wish. "I think so. This must be the purpose of my summoning," Joan of Arc said. "I see. I will do my best to help you. Please advise me, Joan of Arc." It was the first time he called Joan of Arc by her nickname, which made Joan of Arc feel a little awkward, but Joan of Arc responded. "Okay, I'll leave it to you, Sodlek." At that moment, the outside of Mylnia Citadel was shaking as if there was an earthquake. Wyrm and Joan of Arc looked at each other and quickly ran out. In the courtyard, several servants and masters gathered together. "What happened? What the hell is going on?" Gold, who was wearing pajamas, hurriedly shouted. Soon, everyone saw the culprit that caused the earthquake. There was nothing he could do about it. After all, there was a gigantic magic puppet over 10 meters tall walking towards him. The earth was trembling because of it. "That's Black Castor's noble phantasm." Joan of Arc was the first to call out the puppet's real name. "Crown, Light of Wisdom, Golem Kether Malchit, I'll go first, Jahan." Wyrm condensed his armor, took out Meteor Silver, and shouted at Mordred, "Come with me, Mordred." Of course. Mordred's face was full of arrogance. She condensed her armor and sword and rushed forward with Wyrm. Seeing the two of them rushing up, Lion Jia Jia asked. "So where is Black Castor? Why did he attack his own faction?" Joan of Arc said, "In my perception, Black Castor has already left. This noble phantasm seems to have the property that it won't disappear even if the servant leaves." Fiore, who was standing at the side, said sadly. "It seems that Rocher has been used as a furnace by Castor. In fact, after Avisbrun was almost killed by Wyrm, he went to crown Light of Wisdom, Golem Kether Malchit, with his master Rocher. Because Avisbrun knew that his master had no command seal, and because his magical power was almost exhausted, even if he could barely keep his body from disappearing, it would be impossible for him to complete his noble phantasm in the future. Therefore, he tricked Rocher to come here as a condition for his noble phantasm's release. He turned Rocher into a furnace and sacrificed Rocher to release his noble phantasm. And he himself knew that he was also at death's door, so he gave up himself and turned into magical power to integrate into Crown, Light of Wisdom, Golem Kether Malchit. After all, his wish was to complete his noble phantasm. Now that his wish has been fulfilled, there was no need for him to exist. Wyrm and Mordred kept attacking Crown, Light of Wisdom, Golem Kether Malchit, but it didn't have much effect at all. Therefore, all the damage was eliminated. That's the effect of Crown, Light of Wisdom, Golem Kether Malchit, recreating the Garden of Eden, and there is no damage in the Garden of Eden. Joan of Arc shouted. "You must make its feet leave the ground, and then crush its head and heart." "Understood," Wyrm shouted. Chapter 71. After knowing its weakness, Wu Ming no longer fought with the crown, light of wisdom, gold kether malchet. Wu Ming released a large amount of magical power and accelerated, avoiding the crown, light of wisdom's attack. He then slid under the crown, light of wisdom, and held the sword with both hands. Then he used the sword as a plank and hit the lower part of the crown, gold kether malchet. That hit made the men present shudder. Don't get me wrong, Wu Ming wanted to hit it into the air. With the release of magical power, a large amount of magical power rushed out of Wu Ming's body like starlight. The light of wisdom, gold kether malchet, was sent flying into the air by meteor silver, and its huge body was still struggling. Then, Wu Ming held the sword with both hands on his waist, and the starlight in the sky flowed rapidly, and the meteor silver began to gather a large amount of starlight. Silver. With the release of noble phantasm, Wu Ming swung the meteor silver, which gathered a large amount of starlight, upward. The starlight rushed toward the sky like a rushing river until it completely covered the crown, light of wisdom. The light beam formed by the starlight continued to fly upward until it reached a place where people couldn't see it. After a while, the light beam became thinner and thinner until it disappeared. The 10-meter-tall crown of wisdom golem kether malchet was completely turned into ashes, not even a speck was left. Only a little bit of starlight that had not completely dissipated was left. Wait for me, the Silver Knight, stood in place with his sword. Masters such as Fiore, Collins, and Gold were all dumbfounded. Sieg was fine, after all, he was just born not long ago, and he didn't know how powerful noble phantasm was. The heroic spirits were still fine, but they were also a little shocked. How is this possible? How could the French General Sodelec have such a powerful noble artifact? Gold said in a trembling voice. Indeed, Sodelec only fought against ordinary people, and he didn't do anything like that. He shouldn't have such a powerful relic. Collins gulped and pushed his glasses up. Hey, Ryder, are there only a few servants with such a powerful relic? This was the question Sieg asked Astolfo. Huh? Are you an idiot, master? Such a powerful relic is already considered a first-class servant, Astolfo said. Also, if I'm not mistaken, Sodelec's noble phantasm hasn't been fully unleashed. In other words, it hasn't been fully unleashed yet, said Sharon, the black archer who was assisting on the roof earlier. On the other hand, Mordred directly rushed over to Wu Ming's neck and laughed loudly. As expected of a Villo, what a beautiful attack. Wu Ming touched the armor, took back the meteor silver, and looked at Mordred helplessly. I told you to train with me, but you didn't listen. You even started a rebellion when I wasn't around. I really don't know what you were thinking. You bastard, shut up. What's there to show off? Even so, didn't I still end King Arthur? Mordred looked at Wu Ming with a fierce expression. Even if the two of them fought on the spot, no one would doubt it. That. I've been curious since the beginning. Red Saber has always called Mr. Sodelec a Villo. Could it be that Mr. Sodelec isn't actually Sodelec, but a Knight of the Round Table Villo? Fiole, who was sitting in a wheelchair, asked. As soon as she asked, the scene became silent. There was no doubt that this was a secret for the heroic spirits. In fact, there's nothing to hide. If you still don't want to sleep, then I'll tell you my story. Because of the attack of the crown, light of wisdom, gold kether malchet, Myrinia's fortress was also damaged, so everyone didn't plan to sleep, they had to clean up the damage first. Under the command of Cowles, the androids began to move the stones and clean up the damaged places. The servants also came to help, and Cowles, Gold, and others also joined in. Only Fiole, who had difficulty moving, sat in a wheelchair and listened to Wu Ming's story. First of all, I'm Sodelec, but I'm Villo, a Knight of the Round Table. Wu Ming raised a larger stone, and the servants were responsible for cleaning up the stones that the androids couldn't clean up. Several people were surprised when they heard that. Is the story of Sodelec fighting the mystic dragon in the Alps true? Fiole asked. What she meant was the rumor that Sodelec let Villo, a Knight of the Round Table's incarnation, take over his body was true. No, it's half true. I did fight the mystic dragon, but that was when I was Sodlek. Wuming crushed the boulder. Then he asked, do you know the legend of Villo, a Knight of the Round Table? Yes, Villo was cursed by the Black Magician in order to save King Arthur's sister, Morgan Le Fay. His body turned into a dragon, and his mind was devoured. He was sealed by King Arthur, Merlin, and others. Some people also commented that Villo's incarnation was the beginning of the end of Arthur's dynasty. Cowles said. Save that be *tch. She was the one who forced Wyrm to reveal his true form, the mystic dragon, and then sealed Wyrm in the scroll. That despicable be *tch. Mordred said as she punched out with all her might, shattering a boulder. The boulder splashed and hit Leo Gielli, causing Leo Gielli to complain, hey, hey. Be careful. Then, what does it mean to turn into a dragon? Is Villo a dragon? Leo Gielli asked. That's right. I'm a dragon, a purebred dragon, Wuming said calmly, as if he was talking about what he had eaten yesterday. Sigh. A few different voices cried out. Is this possible? That's a dragon. A dragon that will never be seen again in the Kannagi era. Wuming ignored their ruckus and continued to speak. Ah, that's right. Dragons didn't appear in King Arthur's era. Dragons weren't suitable for that era, so I turned into a human. After that, Morgan Le Fay used an unknown poison to devour my mind, and I turned back into my original form. That era couldn't bear my existence, so I was forced out of that era. This is too shocking. Gold said blankly. He didn't know that the boulder in his hand had left his palm and was smashing toward his feet. Ah! My feet! It hurts! It hurts! Ah! Gould rolled on the ground with his arms around his legs in a sorry state. Everyone laughed and continued to listen to Wuming tell his story. Chapter 72. Wuming continued. After I was expelled from that era, I experienced a lot of things that this world doesn't know and doesn't record. Finally, I came to the origin. At this point, everyone stopped what they were doing. Even Golder, who was holding his feet and crying in pain, stopped talking and looked at Wuming quietly. To be honest, what's so good about the origin? It's all chaos. For humans, there's no benefit in it other than being assimilated by the origin, Wuming said contemptuously. The magicians present all knew that Wuming was mocking those magicians whose ultimate goal in life was to trace the origin. However, Patriarch Darnik of the Eugomarinia family also seemed to want to trace the origin, so they, who carried the name of the Eugomarinia family, belonged to this kind of people. Fiol, Collins, and Golder were all silent. Were they disappointed because the origin that the magicians had been searching for was easily found by the other party, or were they sad because they were mocked by the other party? Wuming didn't know the reason for their silence, but Wuming knew that the three Eugomarinia magicians present were not evil people. From Wuming's point of view, the three Eugomarinia magicians present were not evil people. From Wuming's point of view, Fiol and Collins were not suitable to be magicians. This was not referring to their aptitude, but their personality, especially Fiol, who was like a little sister next door. Collins was fine. He could make up his mind to kill people, but he would not violate the morals in his heart. There was also Golder, the middle-aged fatty. He was proud, arrogant, and narrow-minded. Moreover, Golder had always disliked the androids, but Wuming could see that he had a deep impact on the androids that Ziegfeld had saved. Now, although he still spoke ill of the androids, he was much better than before in terms of details and attitude. In short, he treated the androids as humans. Then, I lived in the origin. What? I know this may be unbelievable to you, but I really lived in the origin. My body is somewhat special. It can absorb the power of the origin to accelerate its growth. Then, Wyrm looked at Jean. Then, with the help of the suppression, I subconsciously reincarnated into a village in France. My physical body was still sleeping in my roots. After that, it's the story of Cédric. In order to be able to use the noble artifact that I had when I was a Villo, the suppressive force added the story of how I met the demonic dragon that the Villo transformed into. I see. That explains why you can use Villo the Knight's noble artifact so freely, Fiore said. After Wyrm finished speaking, the place was pretty much cleaned up. Then, Wyrm said, "All right, everyone, hurry up and go rest. We need to conserve energy for the next few days and prepare to attack the space garden." Just like that, everyone spent an incredible night. It could be said that because of Wyrm's words, several people couldn't fall asleep. The next day, in the conference room. "So, what happened again? Why did you call me up so early in the morning?" Wyrm said as he sat in his seat. Looking at a few yawning people who hadn't fallen asleep, Wyrm looked at Jean again. He noticed that Jean had dark circles under her eyes. Was the impact of those words on Jean too much? Wyrm thought. "It's like this." Fiore sat at the head of the table and said, "Now, there is a very urgent matter." After that, she took out a newspaper and placed it in front of everyone. "Jack the Ripper," Jean said. "Is it Black Assassin?" Wyrm asked. "Yes. Recently, more and more people have been sacrificed in the serial murder cases. Just last night, 8 people were killed. Now, dozens of people have been killed, including magician," Collins said with a serious face. "We can't get in touch with our blood relatives in Tulifas, and they're probably already, needless to say, they must have also been killed by Black Assassin Jack the Ripper. Although this is our Eugitomirinia's matter, now we are unable to solve this matter, so we want to entrust the ruler to help us solve this matter. Black Assassin's practice has exceeded the rules of the Holy Grail War. As the ruler of this Holy Grail War, I have the obligation to stop Black Assassin. Please rest assured that I will help you." Jean looked at Fiore seriously. Fiore couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief and said, "Great, I thought this would conflict with your identity as the ruler." "How can that be? Even if I'm not the ruler, I will still help you. After all, Black Assassin's practice is unacceptable to me. As a heroic spirit, he wantonly attacked ordinary humans and magicians. There is no doubt that Black Assassin has fallen into evil." Then Jean looked at Wyrm and said with a smile. "And even without me, Cédric will definitely not allow Black Assassin to exist." Wyrm, who was resting with his eyes closed, opened his eyes and looked at Jean. "Of course, now I'm not only the French General Cédric, but also a Knight of the Round Table Villo. Such evil people must be punished. Really, I didn't want to care. After all, Cédric was the one who was righteous, not Wyrm. The suppressive force created a fake history, and arranged Wyrm's identity as a young man with a sense of justice. Cédric sacrificed himself for his country. Although Wyrm's sense of justice wasn't low either, he wasn't as righteous as Joan of Arc. However, Black Assassin Jack the Ripper is currently in Tulifas. Who knows, he might have infiltrated the castle, which would undoubtedly interfere with our plans. Yep, let's deal with Black Assassin Jack the Ripper first." That was why Wyrm was said to be at Sundara. "Then, do we have any information about Black Assassin now?" Astolfo asked. "Yes, Master and I have fought with Black Assassin before." Just as Sharon was about to tell them about Black Assassin Jack the Ripper, he was suddenly shocked. "What's wrong, Archer?" Fiore asked. "Master, do you still remember the information about Black Assassin?" Sharon asked. Sigh. "How is that possible? I clearly remember." Fiore was also shocked. "It seems that Black Assassin has a special ability to make people forget about him. As expected of the Jack the Ripper who fooled Scotland Yard," Wyrm said. Wu Ming guessed that Black Assassin might have evolved into a noble phantasm because his true identity had not been discovered. Between August 7 and November 9, 1888, Jack the Ripper killed 5 prostitutes in an extremely cruel way near Whitechapel in the East End of London. Jack the Ripper wrote many letters to Scotland Yard, the local police station, to provoke them, but he was never caught. It was not even clear whether Jack the Ripper was a man or a woman. Until now, no one had figured out who Jack the Ripper was. Wait, so we only know that Black Assassin's real name is Jack the Ripper, and we don't know anything else? Although I don't want to admit it, it is the truth. Hey 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 hey. Chapter 73. In the end, everyone decided to first check the situation of the missing people of the Yugomyrenia family in Tolofaz. Myrenia Citadel, Corridor. Because Cowles wanted to check in person and needed to bring some tools, he left first accompanied by Sharon. Sieg and Astolfo seemed to have gone to find the androids, and Fiore became the patriarch because of Darnick's death, so she still had work to do. So now only Wu Ming and Jean were left. Wu Ming requested to set up some magic traps around Myrenia Citadel to guard against Black Assassin Jack the Ripper. At this moment, the two were on their way out of Myrenia Citadel. I really miss those relaxed days, Wu Ming said slowly with a nostalgic expression on his face. Joan of Arc was also deeply moved. To be honest, you've never been like a child since you were young. No matter what you do it well. You're calm and strict. Back then, there were many girls who fancied you. Jean covered her mouth and giggled. Wu Ming looked at Jean with a relaxed expression. I'm sorry, Jean, I didn't tell you about my past. How could that be? Jean shook her head. Because I know, whether it is Villo or Sodlek, they are all you, aren't they? So I will accept them all. Then, Jean showed a big smile to Wu Ming. After seeing this smile, Wu Ming also relaxed. Really, and you still say you are not a saintess. Your ability to heal people's hearts is really strong. But Jean was unhappy when she heard this and began to preach to Wu Ming with a straight face. Really, Sodlek, I always said that I am not a saintess, and you still dare to tease me. Wu Ming quickly waved his hand and said, sorry. Then Wu Ming looked at Jean seriously. But for you to say such things, maybe you really are a saintess sent to the human world. Jean had a helpless look on her face. Hey Jean, do you remember our companion? Wu Ming's question silenced Jean. Then, she slowly said, how could I forget? They are our companions who fought off the invaders with us. Ah, that's right. This is a memory that can never be forgotten. Especially after you were captured, Gil and the others asked Charles VII, who had ascended the throne with your help, to send troops to arrest you. They knelt for 3 days and 3 nights. Is that so? I'm really sinful. Jean's face was slightly sad. Clearly, this holy maiden was unwilling to see her companions treat her in such a manner. Charles VII also wanted to save you back then, but he couldn't do it in the current situation. Gil and the others couldn't do anything either. Wu Ming looked at Jean. So, I'm here. The atmosphere gradually became sorrowful. We were born together in a village called Domremy. We left the village together and fought together for 2 years. In the end, we were burned to death together. If there's anything I regret, it's that I didn't get to see the smiles of the French people defeating the invaders. But I don't regret it, Sodric. Jean looked at Wu Ming. I have sinned deeply, and I have always felt lucky to be able to return to the arms of the Lord in the end. Then Jean looked ahead and continued to speak. But I think it is a happy thing to die with you, although I don't want you to be burned to death. Then, after seeing the gate of Myrenia, Jean quickened her pace and walked out of the castle. Wu Ming gradually stopped and looked at the back of the holy maiden. As expected of someone who looks just like Lia. With that, he strode forward again. Well, I'm just not satisfied with the lack of a Hogue. If Jean heard this, she would probably roll her eyes again. She might also ask who Ya was. Outside Myrenia City, Wuming took out a large number of scrolls from the golden ripple, and they piled up in front of Wuming's chest. Then Wuming said to Jean, "These are the magic scrolls I accidentally obtained when I left Britain to travel. Jean, you and I will take half of these scrolls, and insert them around Myrenia City in a circle." Well, but it's surprising that my true name decipher didn't activate. I think these scrolls have a Nordic style, but they don't look like it, Jean said while holding a long roll of scrolls. Well, maybe it's because this is not the magic of this world. After all, this is what I got in another world. Wuming said. Hey! Another world. Then you have to deal with these magic of another world properly. If you are accidentally discovered by the people of this world, those magicians will definitely go crazy again. Jean said with a smile. Yes, these scrolls will disappear after they are activated, and the magic will automatically dissipate when the time limit is reached. Don't worry. Wuming explained. Then let's get started. After that, Wuming and Jean began to arrange the scrolls. To ensure the powerful effect of the magic, Wuming told Jean to arrange the scrolls in a certain pattern with a specific technique. Although Jean was a ruler, she was still a village girl, so it was a bit difficult for her to solve some profound problems. Wuming could only smile helplessly and let Jean help him arrange the scrolls. Soon, the two completed the arrangement of the scrolls. Wuming smiled and said to Jean, "Jean, I remember you relied on a high school student, so do you know how to do math questions?" "I don't understand." "Ha ha ha." Jean laughed, but the laughter was weak and awkward. Wuming shook his head. "It's better for you to be a village girl. Leave the saintess to others." Wuming knocked Jean's head. Then, Wuming didn't care about Jean, who was holding her head and acting cute, but began to activate the scrolls. It is said that the magic spells in Yggdrasil are some similar to English words. As long as you reply in English, you can basically recite the spell. As a spell similar to English words blurted out from Wuming's mouth, the scrolls inserted into the ground began to be burned by blue flames and instantly turned to ashes. Jean couldn't help but look around. As the scrolls disappeared one by one, the surrounding atmosphere and air seemed to be buried by something and became extremely sticky. The amount of magic in the atmosphere gradually increased, and when it reached the density of the atmosphere that modern people couldn't stand, Wuming stopped. Then Wuming opened another golden scroll and dripped a drop of his blood on it. The scroll seemed to be activated, and it was instantly burned to ashes by blue flames. At this time, the amount of magic in the air returned to normal. Really, because of the influence of my class, I can't use high-level magic at all. The scroll just now was forcibly released with my own blood. Wuming said somewhat unhappily. Those scrolls were some magic scrolls between level 40 and 60, which dealt with Wuming's skills. Magic C studied magic a little, but didn't pay much attention to magic. Because of Magic Dragon, the level was slightly increased. If it weren't for Magic Dragon, Wuming could only use level 20 to 40 magic. According to Wuming's inference, Yggdrasil's magic and the corresponding level of the moon world corresponded like this. Level 0 to 20 was E, level 20 to 40 was D, level 40 to 60 was C, level 60 to 80 was B, level 80 to 100 was A, and super magic was EX. The golden scroll just now was a level 80 item. Okay, now it's almost done. At this time, the rest of the people were almost ready. Chapter 74. After everyone was ready, Wuming, Joan of Arc, Sharon, and Collins went to Tulifaza's missing relatives to investigate. Fiore, Sieg, and Astolfo stayed in Myrenia Citadel. Because the missing people were distributed in different places, it took a long time to investigate the last missing person. In the basement of a room. Including this place, 8 people have been investigated. This is the last place to investigate. Collins squatted on the ground and was examining the body. Looking at the corpse tied to the chair with its eyes rolled back and several scalpels stabbed into its body, everyone fell silent. Collins pulled out the scalpels one by one, and there was no more blood to flow from the wound. The results of the investigation in 8 places have a commonality. Everyone's heart was dug out. Speaking of this, everyone present frowned. The heart is the essence of magic power. It's not surprising for Black Assassin to have it dug out. Wyrm stood aside with his hands on his chest, and then said, "Maybe Black Assassin's master is an ordinary person, not a magician." This reminded everyone. Then, digging out a magician's heart to replenish magic power makes sense, Sharon said. In addition to digging out the heart, the body looked like it was interrogated before death, and the torture method was extremely cruel, Collins said. The strange thing is that some of the bodies have traces of torture, and some of the bodies have no traces of torture. That's what's strange. Sharon continued what Collins was about to say. Is it possible that Black Assassin needs people's fear, so they tortured these people? Joan of Arc asked. Impossible. This can't explain why some of the bodies have no traces of torture, and it's not that there wasn't enough time. We were all busy with the war between the Black and Red before, and we didn't have time to care about Black Assassin. Wyrm shook his head and said with a frown. I thought it was a magic ritual, but it doesn't look like it, Sharon also said. Cowles stood up and walked back. In that case, I'd better implement remnant memory. Jean did not understand these magic tricks and asked, what is that? It's a kind of magic that can obtain information about them before they die, although it's a little dangerous. Collins took a chair and said, but now we can only abandon the rook to save the king. Wait. Wyrm seemed to have sensed something and quickly said. After that, he rushed out in an instant, leaving only one sentence. The magic trap I left in Myrenia has been triggered. The opponent is a servant. What? Carong immediately ran over as well. Berserker! Cowles shouted to Sharon. Ah, ah, ah! Cried Frankenstein, and ran out. The people being interrogated are all people who have the password to open the mechanism in Myrenia Citadel. So that's how it is. Black Assassin wants to attack Myrenia Citadel, Collins analyzed. After listening, Jean hurriedly ran out. Only Cowles followed him out unhurriedly. After all, no matter how fast he was, he could not reach the speed of a servant. Not to mention, he needed to calm down. Cowles picked up his phone at this time and wanted to call his sister, but at this time, the phone showed that there was no signal. Sister, please don't let anything happen to you. Cowles could only pray like this. At this moment, Yugo Myrenia family, Myrenia Citadel. Around the edge of the citadel, magic formed a protective barrier, protecting the entire citadel in a hemispherical shape. The outside of the protective barrier was filled with thick fog, including the roof. The cyborgs who were originally left outside Myrenia Citadel also withdrew. In the hall at the entrance, Gold, Sieg, and Astolfo were checking these cyborgs. Some of the cyborgs were outside the protective barrier and inhaled slight fog acid. Fortunately, they were treated in time, and there were no casualties for the time being. Gold asked at this time. Where is Fiore now? Is there a guard around her? A cyborgs on the side replied. The Patriarch is now in the former Patriarch's study. There is no guard around her at the moment. As soon as he heard that, Sieg immediately turned around. Hurry, Ryder, the enemy may be a servant. Oh. Oh. Understood. After saying that, the two quickly ran toward the study. Gold was left behind with a confused look. At this moment, the protective barrier outside seemed to have reached its limit and broke with a bang. The thick fog spread to Myrenia Citadel at a speed visible to the naked eye. Damn it! Gold quickly took out a golden sandalwood-like box, put it at the door, opened the lid, and a purple smoke came out. This purple smoke seemed to have the effect of blocking the thick fog, and the thick fog did not come in through the gap of the main door. However, other places in Myrenia Citadel were invaded by the thick fog. Slowly, the entire corridor where Fiore was located was filled with thick fog. Fiore, who was still busy working in the study, also found something wrong at this moment. She quickly opened the door and looked at the corridor. Looking at the corridor covered with thick fog, Fiore took out a magic handkerchief, covered her nose and mouth with one hand, and pushed the wheelchair with the other hand, walking toward the room where her magic dress was stored. After all, Fiore's legs were paralyzed because of the deterioration of the magic circuit. She said that she had obtained extraordinary magic skills, but she could not move freely. Usually, she relied on the magic dress she developed to move. Link Enhanced Magic Dress was the name of Fiore's self-designed magic dress. It was a prop specially designed to replace the immobile feet. However, even a third-rate magician would become a first-rate magician if he were to put on this set of clothes. The shape was similar to a backpack, and there were 4 artificial hands on the back. It was forged with a special alloy that was easier to circulate magic. Each artificial hand had an animal spirit attached to it, and it could move according to Fiore's will. It could also move automatically according to the situation to protect Fiore as the owner. When Fiore finally walked to the door of the room where the magic dress was stored, Fiore caught a glimpse of a strange little girl standing behind her with a knife. But there was no doubt that this cute little girl with white hair was the serial killer, Black Assassin Jack the Ripper. Maybe Fiore was a little panicked. After opening the door, her body tilted and the wheelchair fell to the ground. Fiore hurriedly climbed in and then closed the door with a spell. Just as Fiore heaved a sigh of relief, the door was opened again. "I'm so sorry, sister. I know the spell of this door." The innocent child's gentle words made Fiore's whole body cold, and her pupils shrank. There was no doubt that this was the voice of hell. Chapter 75. Fiore hurriedly reached for the box on the table, but how could Jack let her get it? Jack jumped lightly and stood on the table. He stepped on the box and picked it up. This must be something very important to Big Sister. "I can't let you get it." It was still that sweet voice, but Fiore still couldn't hear the sweetness. "Is that so? Then I'll use this first." Files suddenly raised her hand, which had been equipped with a magic suit at some point in time. She pointed at the 2 mechanical arms that were connected to the back of a chair by the wall. Following Files' command, the mechanical arms shot out magic bullets. Jack jumped back and used the box in his hand to block the attack. Then, Fiore made a prompt decision. She equipped the mechanical arms and jumped out of the window. Pang! The window was broken. Fiore relied on the mechanical arms and barely reached the ground. Just as she stabilized her body, she saw a sword attack. Ka! One of the mechanical arms was broken. It was cut off by Black Assassin Jack the Ripper, who had caught up with Fiore with agility. "Big Sister, because of the magic trap outside, I wasted a lot of time." Assassin took the dagger that was still dripping blood and walked in front of Fiore, who was paralyzed on the ground. "Be obedient and let me kill you, Big Sister." At this moment, a meteor-like light arrow shot toward Jack. Jack nimbly jumped back and dodged the light arrow. The light arrow pierced the place where Jack was originally standing and buried deep into the ground. The light scattered and the light arrow revealed its original shape. It was a shining knight's sword that shone like a fashion trend. "Oh, a weapon I've never seen before. Is it a servant?" Jack said to himself. At the same time, he looked in the direction of the light arrow in the fog. Wu Ming, who was dressed casually, walked over unhurriedly. His hand reached into the golden ripples and took out a bottle of recovery potion. He handed it to Fiore, who was still in the fog. "This is a recovery potion. Drink it first." "Oh. Okay, thank you." Fiore was a little confused, but she still followed Wu Ming's instructions and drank the red potion. Wu Ming then pulled out the meteor silver that he had bought from the ground. Black Assassin Jack the Ripper. Am I right? Wu Ming looked at the young Jack. That's right, I'm Jack. So, big brother, do you want to be killed by me? Jack asked innocently. I'm sorry, but I'm here to crusade against you. After saying that, Wu Ming pressed the tip of the meteor's silver sword to the ground and instantly released all of his magic power. The release of mana led to the movement of the air. At this moment, the mana produced by Wu Ming's body instantly blew away the thick fog that covered the surroundings. What? Jack cried out in surprise. Although the fog was also a type of fog, it was formed by Jack's noble phantasm. He did not expect it to be blown away so easily. Then, Wu Ming instantly put on his armor and rushed forward. Because of Wu Ming's B+ dexterity attribute, his dexterity was comparable to that of a rank A. Even Jack almost could not react to this attack. Bang! The ground was shattered by Wu Ming's knight's sword. Jack narrowly avoided this attack, but before she could stand firm, Wu Ming rushed up with his sword again. Realizing that she could not avoid it, Jack tried to use the dagger in her hand to block the knight's sword that pierced through the air. However, it was useless. Jack's weapon could not defend against Wu Ming's A+ strength. The huge impact sent Jack flying. A wound from her left shoulder to her right abdomen appeared on Jack's body, and blood flowed freely. It hurts, Mom, it hurts, Jack said weakly as she lay on the ground. That's enough, Black Assassin. Wu Ming held the meteor silver and looked at Black Assassin who was lying on the ground and unable to get up again. However, Jack's figure became illusory. Wu Ming sensed that something was wrong and rushed up. Wu Ming fiercely stabbed his sword into Jack, who was paralyzed on the ground. The meteor silver stabbed into the ground, and Jack, who was originally here, was gone. Command curse. Wu Ming pulled out his sword and said calmly. Then, Wu Ming looked around. The fog that was still gathering after being blown away disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. Master. Sharon, who was dressed in ancient Greek clothing, jumped down from the roof. Master. Are you okay? Sharon crouched down and wanted to help Fiore who was lying on the ground. I'm fine, Archer. It's all thanks to Mr. Sodrick this time. Fiore stood up with Karen's help and thanked Wu Ming. Thank you very much, Mr. Sodrick. Thank you, Mr. Sodrick. I will repay your kindness to my master. Sharon also thanked Wu Ming. Alright, don't thank me yet. Take Fiore back to rest. I'll go see how the others are doing in the fortress. Then, Sharon brought Fiore back to the room. Wu Ming saw Sieg and Astolfo who hurried downstairs. Mr. Sodrick, how are you? Are you okay? Sieg asked worriedly. The fog has dissipated. Did Assassin retreat? Astolfo asked. Wu Ming put the meteor silver into golden ripple and said to the two, Black Assassin Jack the Ripper has been injured by me. When I dealt the fatal blow, his master used a command curse to summon him back. After saying that, Sieg and Astolfo let out a sigh of relief. After all, they knew that the other party was not a powerful servant. By the way, are some of the androids poisoned? Wu Ming asked. Yes, because some of them accidentally inhaled some of the fog outside the protective shield you set up. But there are no deaths for now. Astolfo said. Then, I'll give you these. After saying that, Wu Ming opened the golden ripple again and took out a large amount of red potions from it. I've given it to you before, and you've used it before. You should know how to use it. Give it to the androids. Sieg and Astolfo held more than 10 bottles of red potions and looked at Wu Ming, not knowing what to do. That. Mr. Sodrick, you haven't used all the potions you gave us before. You don't have to give them to us anymore. Sieg asked carefully. Yeah, I would have forgotten if you didn't mention it. Astolfo agreed. Wu Ming just smiled faintly. Save the extra for later. If one day I'm not here, you won't be able to find me even if you want to. With that, he strode towards Jean, who had just rushed over. Looking at Wuming and Jean talking about the attack, Sieg was a little stunned. Astolfo noticed it and asked, "What's wrong? You look very confused." "Mr. Sodric, I miss the humans of this era. I almost forgot the fact that he is a heroic spirit." Astolfo thought for a while and said, "Maybe Sodric has experienced a lot, so it's easy for him to go deep into various eras. After all, didn't he say that he traveled through the world as a dragon? He must have experienced several different eras." "Is that so?" Sieg said faintly. Okay, let's go and give these potions to the androids first." "Let's go." Wait for me, Ryder." Chapter 76. Evening, Myrenia Citadel, conference room. Everyone sat in their chairs and looked at Wuming, who was analyzing the situation. Black Assassin does have the ability to erase his memory and information. This has been confirmed. Wuming crossed his arms and looked at everyone. "But I can feel that Black Assassin has been injured by me. That's what my sword said. And if the other master is an ordinary person, then Black Assassin will definitely attack again because he needs to replenish his magic and recover his body." Collins put the organized files on the table and said, "According to our investigation in Japan, at the place where our original master of Black Assassin, Xiangliang Leopard Horse, was killed, there were no traces of the death of the sacrifice used, the six-guides Lingxia. Furthermore, there were no signs of a transfer charm in Xiangliang Leopard Horse's hands. It can be inferred that during the summoning process, the six guides Lingxia was automatically selected as its master by Black Assassin, and after the original master Xiangliang Leopard Horse summoned Black Assassin, it killed Xiangliang Leopard Horse. This is the information of six guides Lingxia. In other words, the other party will definitely attack again, right?" Astolfo said. "Yes, what we need to do now is to wait for Black Assassin to come," Wuming said. "And Black Assassin triggered my magic trap, leaving a mark on his body. As long as he comes within a certain range of me, I can detect him." "But how do we lure Black Assassin out?" Fiore asked. After a short rest, because Fiore was not injured, and because she was the current leader of Ujido Myrenia, she came to participate in this meeting. "I can be the bait," Sieg stood up and said. "No way. It's too dangerous, Master. You are not a servant at all. You can't defend against an unexpected attack." As Sieg's servant, Astolfo immediately retorted. "That's right, Sieg. Although you want to help everyone, you are too weak as a human." Because of Zijifai's heart, Sieg's body was no different from an ordinary person. His magic circuit was also of high quality. His physical fitness was even better than ordinary people. However, Sieg was still a human being. He couldn't defend himself from the attacks of the servants in the dark. Even the weakest assassin couldn't do that. It wasn't that Sieg was weak, nor was it discriminating against servants, but Sieg's servant was too powerful. "Don't worry, Siegel-kun. Because I'm a servant, I can suppress the presence of a servant," Jean said. "And I will be by Jean's side. I have this item that can shield my aura. Nothing will happen. Please rest assured." Wuming echoed. "Yes, I understand," Sieg said with disappointment. Wuming took a deep look at Sieg and then ignored him. Astolfo is responsible for observing from the sky, Sharon is responsible for sniping from Mylenia's fortress, and Sodlek and Jean will be the bait," Collins said. "So, it's decided." In order to prevent Black Assassin from attacking ordinary people at night, let's act tonight. Wuming stood up and said. "Yes." Everyone replied. After the meeting, Wuming did not choose to have dinner with Jean. Instead, he went to Sieg and said, "Let's talk, Sieg." "Sigh." Sieg and Astolfo said. After a while, Jean took Astolfo to the restaurant. Wuming and Sieg walked on the wall of Mylenia's fortress. "Sieg, do you think you are useless?" Wuming took the lead to speak. Sigh. Mr. Sodlek. I really want to repay you for helping me, but... Sieg said softly. Sieg is willing to give you the heart, not only because he wants to help the people in need, but also because he wants to help the people who ask for help and the people who don't give up. Wuming stood on the edge of the wall and looked at the endless grassland in the distance. The grassland, which was originally the battlefield of the Black and Red Army, had been repaired by magic, and there was no trace of damage. Even so, I haven't been of much help to everyone. I've always been asking for help. Everything depends on you, whether it's saving my fellow countrymen, Miss Fiore being attacked by Black Assassin, or acting as bait. If it weren't for you, I would have been in a worse situation. Sieg lowered his head in disappointment. You underestimate yourself, Sieg. Sieg did not speak, but looked at Wuming with some doubts. Let's not talk about the fact that you have the best magic circuit as an android. You are now the master of a servant. Wuming turned around, looked at Sieg, and continued. The master of a servant is not something that any magician can be, not to mention that you became a master by virtue of your bond with a servant. Although he saved you out of a sense of heroism, he was willing to conclude a contract with you because he remembered your character, and Astolfo saw it in his eyes, and he recognized you as a human. You conveyed your will to me, to the people of Eugomarinia, otherwise, even I alone can't change their view of you. What Wuming said was true. Afterward, Wuming told Eugomarinia and the others about Sieg's thoughts. After listening, they were silent for a long time. Only Golder was a little uneasy, but under Wuming's pressure, he didn't say anything. And those androids, I believe they must be grateful to you now for helping them win freedom. Then, Wuming turned back. Wuming looked at the vast night sky and said, let's take the example in front of us, valiant spirit, a servant. Look at Astolfo, his power is weak among the servants. Some powerful magicians can defeat him, but have you ever seen him discouraged? You know the story of Astolfo, right? His strength in the legend of Charlemagne is too different from the other warriors, but he can still be ranked as one of the 12 warriors of Charlemagne. Do you know why? Wuming asked. Sorry, I don't know. Sieg replied. It was too complicated for an android who was born not long ago. That's because he has the power of the heart. The power of the heart. Sieg said thoughtfully. Whether it's the declaration of destruction that can break all magic from the witch, or the lost spear of Argalia, or the magic horse from the evil magician Atlanta, Astolfo relied on the power given by others to get through the difficulties. And Astolfo has a strong heart, a casual and upright character, so he was entrusted by so many people. It was precisely because Astolfo didn't care much about these external forces that he was included in the list of her noble phantoms. The strength of the heart is the real strength. The strength of the heart is the real strength. Sieg muttered this sentence, thinking. This is what my grandfather who adopted me told me, and I always remember the truth he taught me. Then, as if he had thought of something, Wuming said, right, by the way, protecting you wasn't just because of Ziegfeld's request, but also because I have a whole new level of respect for you. Also, since you have accepted Ziegfeld's heart, you must have also obtained his power, but it hasn't been activated yet. Wuming turned around and was ready to leave. After all, if he didn't leave, his stomach wouldn't be able to stand it. Think about it, don't worry about us tonight, believe in the power of the heart. Chapter 77. After leaving the city wall, Wuming went to the dining hall. Everyone else had already finished eating. Only Jean and Astolfo were still waiting. Jean returned to the dining hall because her body needed to eat. Astolfo didn't need to eat, but he would eat with Sieg. Wuming was the same. Wuming would eat with Jean. Yo, Sodric, Astolfo greeted him warmly. How is it? Jean asked. He won't understand in a short time. There's still a long way to go. There's no need to rush, Wuming replied with a smile. Then hurry up and eat, Sodric. After a while, Cedric and Jean were almost done eating, but Sieg still hadn't arrived. Why isn't Sieg here yet? Did you make him stupid, Cedric? Astolfo said while lying on the table in boredom. Coincidentally, Sieg pushed the door open and entered just as Astolfo finished speaking. Sigh, Mr. Cedric. Sieg was a little embarrassed because he had just been lectured by Wyrm. He was like a student who had just met his teacher. Hurry up. Sieg, hurry up and eat. We still have to move later, Astolfo said. Oh. Okay. Soon, everyone was ready. Fiol and Cowles were overseeing Myrenia Citadel. Frankenstein followed Cowles and Fiol and was responsible for protecting them. Wyrm and Jean were the main force and bait. Astolfo was scouting from the sky. Sieg had to deal with special situations with Astolfo, so he rode the eagle with Astolfo. In the end, Sharon would use all-seeing eyes to snipe. As for Leo Gielli and Mordred, they were on different sides. Even with Wyrm, Leo Gielli still insisted on moving separately. After discussing how to deal with Shiro Amakusa, the two of them found a graveyard near Tulifas and left Myrenia Citadel. Let's go, Jean. Okay. Wyrm took out a bottle of potion and drank it. This was a high-level potion from the YGGDRASSAL, World Tree, that had a special invisibility ability. It could block the detection of skills, and only the detection of buildings could see through it. After drinking it, Wyrm instantly became transparent. After seeing Wyrm disappear, Jean suppressed her magic power and began to act as bait on the street. Because of the man-killer fiends that appeared in Tulifas, no one went out at night. The moonlight shone on the ground, and Joan of Arc, wearing a student uniform, walked on the street step by step. Many residents were already asleep, and there were only a few households with their lights on. Even so, the surroundings were not dark. After all, the moon tonight was much brighter than usual. Wyrm hid his figure and followed behind Joan of Arc. Although the plan is good, I'm afraid that the other party won't play by the rules. Wyrm thought so. And just in case, Wyrm had already set up magic scrolls around Myrenia Citadel, and with Sharon and Frankenstein in the Citadel, there was no way for anything to go wrong. Fortunately, Black Assassin wasn't as sly as Wyrm thought. Slowly, the surroundings started to become foggy. Whether it was Sharon, who was using clairvoyance to observe from the top of the citadel, or Astolfo, who was riding an eagle together with Sieg, they were all tense as they observed Joan of Arc's surroundings. At the corner in front of them, a black shadow flashed by, and Joan of Arc saw it. It was as if the shadow was luring Joan of Arc. Seems like the other party isn't a simple person, he knows how to lure the enemy. Wyrm said from behind Joan of Arc, then do we need to chase after him? Joan of Arc asked without turning her head. Of course, the other party has already created an opportunity for us, how could we not use it? Don't worry, I'll be right behind you. Yeah. After that, Joan of Arc rushed to the place where the black shadow disappeared. After a series of tossing and turning, the black shadow led Joan of Arc to a residential area that was accessible in all directions. Joan of Arc stood in an empty place and carefully observed the surroundings. On the roof of a residential building behind Joan of Arc, Black Assassin Jack the Ripper's figure emerged. From now on, it will be hell. Black Assassin was seen in a pose, holding the two swords backward, and chanting. We are fire, we are rain. Strength, Mary Ripper. The moment he shouted out the noble phantasm, Black Assassin rushed to Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc immediately sensed the danger and quickly condensed the armor and the holy flag. Clank. What? Black Assassin Jack the Ripper shouted in disbelief. His pair of daggers were blocked by something invisible. Wyrm appeared, holding the meteor silver, and was in a stalemate with Jack's daggers. Long time no see, Assassin Jack the Ripper. The moment he saw Jack the Ripper, Wyrm recalled all kinds of information about Jack before. Wyrm lifted Jack and sent him flying. Jack flipped in the air and stabilized his body when he landed. Why? How can you be okay? Jack's noble phantasm, Mary Ripper, used 4 level D daggers to inflict curse-type damage on enemies with specific conditions. When the conditions were met, there would be a curse effect of resentment. It was said that there were more than 80,000 prostitutes in London's slums who were killed and thrown away for the sake of living. There were 3 conditions. Night, female, female, fog. If Jack used his noble phantasm when all the conditions were met, the target's internal organs would immediately be pulled out of the body and become a corpse to be dissected. If the conditions were not met, it would only inflict damage, but at this time, every time the conditions were met, the power would also increase. But, big brother and big sister, why are you okay? Jack's noble phantasm was not a dagger attack, but a curse, so it could be used from a distance. That meant it could be targeted from a distance. Even if someone blocked the noble phantasm, the targeted person would be hurt. Jack was a little confused. Even if it couldn't cause a fatal blow to the opponent, it should at least cause some damage. But Jack looked at Wyrm. He clearly hit Wyrm, but he didn't see any effect. And Joan of Arc, who was behind him, also didn't seem to be affected. How can using a curse on the mystic dragon work? Wyrm said sarcastically. Mystic dragon EX, entangled by the so-called curse of being possessed by the mystic dragon, cursed as a dragon with huge magical power, basically ignoring all negative effects. The curse of 80,000 abandoned babies is not enough. Wyrm shouted. And I have resistance to curses. Even if you hit me, it will only cause a little damage, and it can't cause fatal damage to me at all. Joan of Arc, who was holding the holy flag, said. What was needed to defend against the effect of this noble phantasm was not physical defense, but resistance to curses. It happened that Joan of Arc, as a saintess, naturally had resistance to curses, and her level was not low. Surrender, Jack, if you surrender now, I won't kill you. Sigh. Chapter 78. Sigh. Not only Jack was puzzled, but even Jean was also puzzled. If you surrender now, I will restrict your freedom until the end of the Holy Grail War, Wyrm continued. For some reason, Wyrm rejected the original plan to get rid of Jack the Ripper. But Jean seemed to want to say something. However, Wyrm interrupted her. Let me be willful for once, Jean. Okay then. After all, Jean and Cedric were close friends who had gone through life and death together. After thinking for a while, Jean, who couldn't think of a reason, decided to believe in Cedric, who was also Wyrm. After seeing Jean agree, Wyrm smiled. Then he said to Jack, how about it, have you thought about it? Your body hasn't fully recovered yet. It must be very disadvantageous for you to go against us. Wyrm looked at Jack, whose body was wrapped in bandages, and saw at a glance that Jack's injury caused by Wyrm hadn't recovered yet. I refuse, big brother, what are you talking about, we are enemies now, Jack's innocent face looked at Wyrm expressionlessly. Is that so? Is that your answer? Wyrm closed his eyes and said. Then, I will completely defeat you. Wyrm opened his eyes, and red vertical pupils appeared in his black pearl-like eyes. The shiny silver armor was instantly donned. Wyrm held his knight's sword and rushed towards Jack in an instant. Jack also came prepared this time. At the moment Wyrm moved, he also jumped back and threw a child out of the darkness. Wyrm held the child, looked at Jack who jumped on the roof and began to retreat, and quickly handed the child to Jean. Jean, I'll leave him to you. No problem, don't worry, go after him. After Jean took the child, Wyrm looked in Jack's direction. Jack jumped onto the roof, looked at Wyrm, and began to jump from house to house. Meanwhile, Wyrm stomped the ground with his right foot, releasing a large amount of mana. With Wyrm's right foot as the center, spiderweb-like cracks appeared on the ground. Wyrm directly charged into the sky, bursting toward Jack, who was constantly jumping on rooftops. What? Jack felt Wyrm catching up. He turned around and couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Jack hurriedly changed directions and jumped into the complicated and narrow residential streets in an instant, sprinting quickly. With Jack's dexterity, coupled with his aura-blocking A's skill, it was reasonable to say that escaping should not be a problem. However, a few arrows were shot from a distance in front of Jack's path. Now, Jack couldn't slow down at all. If he slowed down, Wyrm would catch up. But if he didn't slow down, the arrow in front of him would definitely hit him. There was a wolf in front and a tiger behind. Jack was on guard against Wyrm catching up and waiting for him. While holding a dagger, he was ready to cut off the arrows. Just as Jack cut off these arrows, suddenly a special arrow that was twice as fast as the previous arrows burst toward him. Jack was just about to use his dagger to hit the arrow when Wyrm, who was behind him, shouted, "Don't even think about it." Wyrm gathered his mana on the meteor's silver sword, held the hilt with a backhand grip, and threw it out like a javelin. Jack knew that he couldn't block this blow, so he could only use his dagger to block the sword's trajectory. Poochie! The arrow that burst out directly shot through one of Jack's legs. Because of the impact of the arrow, Jack's leg was directly broken. The broken part showed a golden state of spirit, and Jack fell weakly to the street. Jack looked at Wyrm, who was chasing over, and no one knew what he was thinking. Wyrm didn't launch an attack and just watched. Then Wyrm felt a wave of spatial fluctuations, and Jack disappeared in front of Wyrm's eyes. Sure enough, it's a command spell again. Wyrm stood on a building and watched Jack disappear. But Wyrm had already suffered once, and he definitely wouldn't suffer again. When Jack attacked File last time, Jack had been marked by Wyrm's magic trap. Although there was a time limit, in the current situation, there was plenty of time. As long as he wasn't far away from Wyrm, he wouldn't be able to get rid of Wyrm's pursuit. At this moment, the marked Jack in Wyrm's eyes was like a lighthouse in the dark sea, very conspicuous. And in order to prevent Jack from being summoned away by his master with a command spell again, Wyrm and Jean deliberately chose to act as bait in the central area of Tuliphas. In the center of Tuliphas, Wyrm could almost perceive 80% of the area with Tuliphas as the center of the circle. In this way, even if his master used a command spell to summon Jack away again, even if Jack led Jean away a little before, it wouldn't have much impact on Wyrm's perception of Jack. In case of accidents, Wyrm also prepared a tool to enhance the magic of intelligence. Of course, the premise of this series of conditions was that Jack's master was in Tuliphas, otherwise Wyrm couldn't do anything. According to Wyrm's inference through his sword, Jack was seriously injured and couldn't leave Tuliphas in such a short time. He could only kill people in Tuliphas and dig out their hearts to replenish his magic power. Otherwise, as long as he accidentally encountered a black side or a red side servant, he wouldn't even have the power to protect himself. Sure enough, the mark on Jack's body moved to the opposite direction of Wyrm's pursuit of Jack. It seemed that the other side had already discussed it. When they were defeated, they would run in the opposite direction, and then the master would use a command spell to summon Jack back. However, the other side may not have thought that Wyrm's combat power was so strong that Jack almost died here. In this way, as long as we find the location of his master, then we won't be afraid of Jack escaping again. With that, Wyrm instantly turned around, released his magic power, and burst toward the place where Wyrm sensed at the moment. However, the roof that Wyrm was standing on was already shattered to the point that it couldn't be any more shattered. It woke up the people who were sleeping in the house. In a house, next to a corpse, a woman was holding Jack, who was running on the street before. She had long green straight hair to her waist, a green off-shoulder skirt, a brown jacket with black fluff on the jacket, and a pair of black knee-high boots on her legs. She looked like a woman with the temperament of a rich young lady. This was the current master of Black Assassin Jack the Ripper, the person who was sacrificed by the former master Xiangliang Leopard Horse, Six Guides Ling Xia. "Jack, are you okay?" Six Guides Ling Xia asked Jack with an unusually gentle tone, while touching her head and looking at her short legs that were still spiritualized. "It hurts, Mom, it hurts." Jack choked with tears in the corner of her eyes. If it wasn't for the bloodstains, daggers, and broken legs on her body, anyone would think that she was a cute child who was bullied. Moreover, the we Jack was referring to was herself, not her and six guides Ling Xia. Because Wu Ming had said before that Jack used the curse of 80,000 abandoned babies, which meant that her true body was 80,000 abandoned babies. Okay, Mom will take you out of here. With that, six guides Ling Xia stood up, picked up Jack, who couldn't move because of her broken legs, and walked toward the door. Click, six guides Ling Xia opened the door and walked out. Whoosh! You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.